What's up, guys? Don't forget to smash that like button, drop a comment, hype up the video, and if you're new here, hit that subscribe and join the family. The story begins with a city in ruins as wounded people try to escape from a gigantic monster that advances, destroying everything around and opens its enormous mouth, unleashing a roar mixed with humans turning into zombies, while survivors run and beg for help. On top of a building, a boy is beaten by two people, until the woman throws a liquid on him and says she'll see him in the next life, while the guy beside her tells Shia to forgive them, claiming that everyone is taking everything for themselves. Lying on the ground, the boy whispers the name Xiao Yun, and the warrior summons a bear while saying that his beloved sister was devoured by zombies before him, blaming the boy because she refused to hand over the emblem, adding that her plasma is very useful. Xia gets furious when he hears that. People around stare at the bear and recognize Sherjun, the user of the strongest ability blessed by the gods, believing they are saved. Sher picks up his lover in his arms and asks if the fallen boy doesn't like flames, telling him to disappear in the fire as a lighter is thrown onto his body. Meanwhile, the bear charges at the giant creature and they exchange blows that make the air tremble, while the boy burns alive, thinking that if another life exists, he won't allow that to repeat, until a voice responds that everything will begin again and his heart keeps beating. Later, the protagonist wakes up in bed completely confused, remembering that he had been burned before and finding it strange to be without injuries or flames, trying to understand if that voice was real. Shia grabs his phone and sees it's July 1st, realizing he's gone back 3 days before the apocalypse and wondering if everything really restarted. He looks at himself in the mirror and notices flames in his eyes, seeing that his right eye is golden and questioning if that is the seed of fire left there when he was being burned to the end. Jaya opens the door, goes outside, and thinks that nobody would imagine that in 3 days all of this would be destroyed, remembering that the apocalypse will turn many humans into zombies while strange gods appear, and even with some gaining powers, nobody will react in time, transforming entire cities into living hells where humans become demons fighting for resources to survive. He thinks about the betrayal of his girlfriend Ruo Lan and his best friend Sherjun, until he receives a call from her asking why he took so long to answer and implying that he's trying to break up with her. Yuan remembers it's always the same. Whenever something doesn't go her way, Lan threatens to break up, and in the past he would get desperate trying to calm her down, but now he answers yes, and she asks him to repeat it. Xia says they are breaking up and that he's tired of it, that he no longer wants to be her servant, putting the phone in his pocket as he walks, saying he finally has some peace and needs to take care of a few matters. At Ruo's house, the phone is thrown and she explodes, asking if he dares to hang up and block her, while Shai, lying on the bed, asks if he found out about their relationship. Lan says it's impossible, explaining that the fool followed her everywhere, and if she told him to go east, he would never dare go west, not seeing how he could discover it. Jun tries to calm her down, saying his father just sent a message asking him to collect some old inheritances with spiritual energy, commenting that something big might happen. Ruo remembers those inheritances and says Xia had a very ugly family emblem that looked centuries old, and Sher asks where it is now, receiving the answer that it's with his sister. Lan says Xia is crazy now, and that when he calms down, he will go back to flattering her as always. And when that happens, she'll only ask for the emblem. Shai smiles, saying it will work. Elsewhere, someone holds the emblem while Yuan asks why her brother is suddenly asking for it, saying he traveled 30 kilometers by taxi and that he wasn't even working today, also finding his gaze strange. The protagonist asks if she believes him, and Yuan says yes, that they rely on each other, and she trusts him without hesitation, believing that everything he does is for her sake. Xia asks her to go to school now, grab her things, and come back home with him immediately, and his sister says she'll go and see him in 2 hours, and Yuan asks if she doesn't want to know the reason, but Yun only says she trusts him. The protagonist thinks that this time, he will make sure to keep his sister alive as he stares at the emblem and remembers the bear, imagining if there is something special in that object, as the golden in his eyes grows stronger. A hot drop falls from his eyes onto the emblem and words appear on it, revealing the 6 great hells, releasing noises and a violently strong light as chains appear bound around something. Xia watches it all as the heavy aura fills the environment, and monstrous creatures emerge from every side, making Yuan think that it truly is terrifying. Lightning slices through the space as monsters roar, and the protagonist tries to understand whether that light is suppressing the creatures inside the tower, until a voice asks if he is scared. A girl appears and Xia asks who she is, hearing that her name is Su Daji and that she's welcoming the new warden of the Hell Prison. She explains that 10,000 years ago, the Immortal Emperor gathered the 20 Immortals, including Tai Bai, Tai Shang, the 3 Pure Ones, Guayin, Fuqi, and Zhuanu, to forge the land of demon suppression that gave origin to the six hells where countless fierce beasts and sinful gods were cast to have their souls burned day and night by the sacred light. Su continues saying that the emblem of forgiveness in his hand is the only key capable of opening those doors, and Shia understands why she called him Warden. Daje asks if he wants to enter to inspect the prisoners and offers reports along the way, and Shia agrees. They cross a portal where the aura becomes even more brutal, but a light coming from his eyes blocks the surrounding pressure. Su praises him, stating that the flames in his eyes are the seed of the inferior fire, which is why he managed to restart life even after dying in the underworld. Yuan asks why she spoke to him in his past life, and Daji explains that the bonds between her and the Shia family run deep, and as the spiritual guide of the six hells, she couldn't stand seeing him being finished off by villains. The despair and hatred of the last moment awakened the flame ability that ignited the seed, and she merely followed the flow. The protagonist understands that he was reborn because of that, and that with the apocalypse about to begin, his powers awakened and everything will be different, asking her to show the way. During the walk, Su explains that the six hells have 5 layers and that the doors he lights represent the limit of his own soul. The higher he climbs, the more dangerous the prisoners will be, demanding that he strengthen his soul to face them. Shia notices that only the bear's section is lit and thinks it looks like the beast she rode in the previous life. The bear opens its mouth, releasing a crushing pressure, and Yuan is surprised as it asks if that is the new warden, saying the young one is promising and that they have waited for him for 1,000 years, offering help for anything. Su calls the black bear shameless and tells it to disappear, commenting that it is crawling too much before the warden, and that it did not even let her take the lead, explaining that those 1,000-year demon kings stayed there too long and ended up turning into dogs. A bird asks what is so special about the warden, saying they only obey the emblem, and that if he wants to prove authority, he can leave them another 1,000 years under the blows of sacred lightning to see the result. The protagonist is amazed to encounter Su Daji and now the demonic black bear, realizing that the prison holds legendary creatures. Shia approaches the bird, observes its appearance, and asks if it could be Legenzi, and Su smiles, saying that as expected from the warden, he recognized it right away. She goes on explaining that in that world, monsters are divided into soldiers, generals, commanders, kings, and sages, and that the warden is on the lower layer of the tower where criminals of general level are kept. The higher he climbs, the stronger the monsters will be, and it is said that on the highest layer there are immortal criminals of sage level, besides rumors that Lady Nuwa once saw a god-level being roaming the world before disappearing into the sands of time. She concludes saying that if he works hard, he will soon ascend the levels and control the entire prison. Yuan says that tower is even more formidable than he imagined, since even the general level beasts, the lowest tier, possess terrifying strength, and he finds it hard to picture what is locked at the top. Regardless of who is there, they will all become part of his power in the future, and in this apocalypse he intends to become the strongest. Su explains that with his current soul power, that is the limit of exploration, and that he needs to gather more spiritual strength to light new doors and reach the next level. Back in the common world, the protagonist walks reflecting that soul power is totally different from abilities, since abilities can be obtained from zombies and mutant crystals, but soul powers only come from slaying gods. In 3 days, when those entities descend, the hunt will begin and he will make all preparations. In the old street, he keeps walking and remembering that in the previous life, someone tripped there on an immortal bidding rope and became a powerful ability user. And if he is correct, the treasure should still be in that area because the energy of ancient relics cannot escape the seed of inferior fire. Ahead stands Song Tian, leader of the Song family and father of Song Sherjun, accompanied by Elder Huang, appraiser of antiquities. Tian notices Yuan from afar and recalls the conversation with Shi, when he advised his son to choose useful friends and heard that the boy was just a loyal fool, easy to manipulate. In the present, the appraiser asks what happened, but Tian answers that it's just someone familiar and that they should continue the search relying on the specialist. Huang reassures him, saying that appraising antiquities is his only true skill, though he finds it a pity that almost everything there is merely common craftsmanship. Song thinks about the ancestral ceremony from a few days ago, when he dreamed of old masters asking him to search for certain objects, and decides to believe in it by inviting the elder along. Suddenly, Huang notices something and declares he has found it. Another buyer grabs the item first and asks for the price. The seller, believing he is just another naive buyer, claims it came from the Ming dynasty and is worth at least 10,000. The protagonist comments that it is too expensive and questions if that's all, examining the object and saying that it is broken and even tied up, and that from his perspective it is only simple craftsmanship worth at most 100 yuan. The seller snatches the item from his hand angrily while Huang asks to examine it. Yuan steps aside discreetly holding the tied part and thinks he succeeded, since that discreet string is actually the binding immortal rope, a magical treasure, and now he will enjoy the show. He remembers that in the previous life, Yuan was captured by the Song family. They lost the emblem and used her in plasma sacrifice. This time, that will not happen. Meanwhile, the elder comments that the head holds a small spiritual aura and is a legitimate antiquity. The protagonist approaches calling Tian Uncle Song and says he now understands why he looked familiar, asking if he is also there searching for antiquities. Tian says he didn't expect to see him interested in this, and that he heard from Shi that his family has an ancient inheritance, wishing to talk about it later. Xia provokes him, saying that since it is a rich family, it is strange he struggles so much over a small gourd, implying the item might actually be truly valuable. People around rush over, recognizing Elder Huang and believing that if he is appraising it, then the piece must have something special, and they start offering 12,000. Then someone offers 20,000, irritating Tian, who complains about being there first and asks them not to raise the price. The seller remembers that he hadn't made an offer yet and says that the highest bid wins. People keep increasing the amounts until Tian declares he has spent more than 17,000, complaining that what was worth 10,000 has become more expensive because of Yuan's interruption. The protagonist asks if he didn't mention being curious about his family's inheritance, and Tian confirms, saying he heard from his son that the young man possesses an ancient family emblem and asks to see it. Xia shows it quickly, and the appraiser nearly reacts with surprise, stating that it looks like a treasure and asking to examine it closely. But Yuan refuses, saying it is an heirloom passed down for generations, and that he wouldn't let someone analyze something so important that easily. Tian insists, saying that he and his son are good friends and that he should show the emblem for a moment. But Yuan retorts, asking what story about Shi that is, stating that he doesn't know him and that there is nothing else to discuss, turning to leave. Song calls him back and asks what he wants in exchange for allowing them to see the item, and Xia replies that he wants money, charging 10,000 for 1 minute and offering 5 minutes for 50,000, asking if that isn't even cheap and saying that if they don't want to pay, he will leave. Tian accepts the deal and Yuan comments that it works perfectly. With the money in hand, he thinks he will first stock up on water and then food, remembering that there are many empty cells in the 6 great hell prisons where he can store supplies. Su comments that anything placed inside remains unchanged, even live animals, and he jokes that it makes sense for a fox to like chicken, imagining that people might think he's starting a farm. Soon, a notification of insufficient funds appears and Xia realizes the money ran out too fast, asking Tian if he is done looking already, reminding him that the 5 minutes have passed and offering to extend the time. Song changes the subject and asks if he would sell the emblem, and Yuan says he would, asking what they think of 10 million. Both are shocked at that price, and the protagonist pulls the item back, asking what the problem is, stating that it was passed down for thousands of years and without doubt is a valuable antiquity, saying that 10 million isn't even that expensive, and if he doesn't want to buy it, he can move on to other matters. Huang tries to intervene, saying that the emblem truly is an antiquity, but that it is worth at most 500,000, and that Yuan is exaggerating too much, suggesting negotiating a lower price and saying that in his opinion, it could be acquired for 100,000. Tian thanks him for his help that day and ends it there, while the appraiser takes his leave. Song immediately calls his son, ordering him to gather the clan members, telling him to act at once, find Shia and his sister, and bring both them and the emblem to him. After hanging up, Tian complains that the brat dared to provoke him and remembers that their ancestors not only sent them to retrieve antiques, but also to prepare plasma from a young girl for a sacrifice, and that he had been hesitating before, but now the boy is asking to lose his life. Yuan realizes the plan has finally begun and thinks it is perfect since he feared Tian would not take action. He only regrets not squeezing more money out of him, but thinks there is no hurry and that he will charge everything bit by bit. Somewhere else, Yun appears with a suitcase saying she is ready, and the protagonist tells her to head home. Teacher Bai Xiyin runs over and asks them to wait, and Yun asks what she is doing there. Bai says she wants to know why she suddenly decided to abandon school and reminds her that there is an important exam the next day, insisting this is crucial for her future. Xia explains that he was the one who asked her to return home and that he needs to keep her away from school for now. Bai confirms he is the brother and says Yun is the best student in the class, commenting that she heard about the parents passing and assumed the brother was responsible, but she didn't expect him to be so careless as to jeopardize her future. Yun tries to ease the tension, saying it isn't that serious and that she will only go home to handle some things. But the teacher asks what could possibly be so important to interrupt her studies, saying that unless the Earth is about to explode, school should not be stopped. She feels awkward realizing she raised her voice too much, but continues saying that a student must. Then Xia interrupts her, thanking her, saying she truly is a great teacher, and as a token of gratitude he will give her a warning. When she gets home, she should stock as much food, water, medicine, weapons, and especially a lot of painkillers, as that will help survive the difficult times that are coming. Bai doesn't understand, thinking he speaks as if the world were really going to end and hopes Yun will be alright. At home, Yun asks what they will do now and if something big is really about to happen, and Yan confirms it is, saying he will protect her and telling her to put on the clothes he hands her, explaining that he will go out for a while and that she must not open the door for anyone, no matter who it is. Yun says she will prepare dinner and asks him to come back soon to eat. The protagonist leaves thinking that since the emblem is with his sister, he can feel her location at all times, and that now the top priority is to get more money. He heads for the elevator while elsewhere Ruo talks on the phone, asking if his sister is not at school and ordering them to go straight to the ex-boyfriend's apartment, saying he cannot run forever. Shuri answers that he understands and that she can keep him busy because they are already on their way. Lan asks if he missed her, and comments that Jun said he wanted to spend the night with him eating snacks, claiming he will be there soon. But Xia keeps walking while Ruo insists, wanting to know what he meant by that, asking if he really isn't thinking of breaking up with her and telling him not to act childish, claiming she knows he's just jealous. But Yan pushes her hand away and says that just remembering he once was in a relationship with her already makes him sick, telling her to stay away from him. And Ruo calls him ungrateful while the protagonist asks if her mask has fallen off and says she should pick it up before someone steps on it, which makes Lan furious, shouting where he is going and demanding he return. But Xia replies he is going to sell his own house, making Ruo ask if that's not the only house he has and if he hadn't said it would be their wedding home. And Yan says he needs money now and will sell it cheap, asking if she wants to buy it, while Lan tries to understand how he suddenly became so cold and is even selling the house left by his parents. A home in a prime location worth at least 3 million, thinking that if it weren't for that house, she wouldn't even go out with him, asking how much he intends to sell it for, and the protagonist answers 1 million final offer, leaving Ruo stunned at how cheap it is and asking if he is in trouble and needs to pay off debts. And Xia simply asks if she wants it or not, saying he is going to the agency and that even so, it is a huge steal. And Lan says she wants it, but doesn't have all the money at that moment, offering 300,000 as a down payment and the rest later, while Yan asks who said anything about installments and whether he looks like an idiot, stating he wants 1 million in cash, not a cent less. And Ruo thinks Shuri will soon arrive with men to deal with him and that Xia is better off eliminated anyway, and that even if she pays the million, he will have to return it later. So the important thing now is to trick him until the transfer is done, saying it will be 1 million and they can go to the real estate office right now. At the office, Lan talks on the phone telling her mother not to worry, explaining that she's just buying a house and got a great deal and the money will return soon, while her mother questions how she could be going out with a broke guy like that and now spending all the family's savings to buy his house. And Ruo replies that she just needs to transfer the money and soon he will disappear, while the protagonist asks if she is finished and says he will only sign after receiving everything, and Lan confirms she is transferring and will send the receipt, thinking she hopes he lives long enough to spend the money, while Xia receives the amount and thinks that when the apocalypse arrives that house will be worthless, and without that million Lan will lose her last chance of survival. And she smiles, saying she is happy, and that they can go to his house to celebrate, and Yan agrees, telling her to go celebrate. At the same time, in another building, Shur appears with some men saying he found out Xia took Yun home that afternoon, and that before he gets back they will go up the stairs and have a deep conversation with his sister. While inside the apartment, Yun prepares food and the emblem hanging from her neck begins to shine. They reach the door and Jun knocks, telling her to open, saying it is him, while Yun asks why brother Shur is there if Xia is not at home. And Jun lies, saying he knows, and that Xia went to prepare hot pot ingredients and asked him to come ahead, telling her to open because it is too hot outside, but Yun places her hand on the door and remembers her brother said not to open for anyone, so she answers that it is better to wait for him to return, making Shi knock harder and ask if she is kidding and if she is suspicious of him, ordering her to open the door. And Yun tries to apologize until one of the men shows up with a toolbox, saying quietly not to worry because they are experienced in the gang and opening locks is easy, while Jun asks if the family amulet is with her, and Yun confirms saying her brother gave it to her, until they manage to unlock the door and she says he is relieved, entering and grabbing her arm while commenting it would have been better if she had opened earlier, touching the emblem hanging on her neck and asking if that is the antique his father wanted, saying that now, with her and the amulet, Xia will be forced to kneel and beg forgiveness from the family head. Yun asks why and questions if Jun was not her brother's friend, and he arrogantly replies asking if she knows why he stayed with Shia, saying it is because he is an idiot who believes everything and always made mistakes. So when something blew up, they needed someone to take the blame instead of him, leaving Yuan with her eyes full of tears as she asks how he can say that. And Shia still says that if it were not for him, she would not have even met Ruo, saying the girl is truly a treat. June then slaps her face and tells her to stay quiet, warning that if she keeps talking, he will shove a cloth in her mouth, while one of the men says he has talent for that and asks if she is of age, and June replies that they can check themselves since there is still time. As they advance, a voice appears asking if they have ever heard of the great wine pool in the Forest of Meat, and Sher immediately imagines a pool full of women serving him all the time, until hearing Sue asking if the meat tastes good, and June replies it is delicious, then hears that of course it is delicious, because he is tasting his own flesh, and that is exactly the flavor. The men panic asking if that is plasma, screaming that this is no paradise and that it is more like hell. And Sue asks if he is not satisfied with the menu and which heart he would like to taste, Biggin's, Yikao's, or the eyes of the great minister. In the real world, everyone starts screaming desperately while Yuan, not understanding, asks what is going on, and they shout, "It is a ghost," questioning where those visions came from and why they are scared if they have already killed people before, asking if there is something wrong with that amulet. Shia pretends courage, ordering them to move forward and destroy it, saying it is just a useless amulet until a burst of light explodes from the pendant and a hand appears cutting his face, making the amulet fall to the ground. Someone enters and picks it up, commenting on the mess, and when everyone looks, they see it is Shia. Ruo also enters asking what happened to Shi, and June, in panic, says it was a demon, saying that amulet is a treasure and ordering them not to let Xia escape, while Yuan screams for her brother to be careful. The men advance with clubs, and Sue comments that the amulet's soul power has just been consumed, and that it is Zhenxi's fault for using the claws, otherwise they could have been controlled longer, while the bear says he cannot come out, and Shia says that with that size, if he really came out, the building would collapse, saying he has no fault at all and just wants to show a bit of his own abilities. Flames then surge toward the men and begin to burn them, leaving everyone in despair asking what that is and telling him to put it out, running to the shower while Shia asks what is happening and whether Xia knows how to use magic. And Lan warns him not to get close, saying that June is his big brother, and asking him to take their past relationship into consideration. Xia furiously replies that she came to his house, brought men to try to abuse his sister, stole the amulet, and even knew everything from the beginning, saying it is disgusting and asking how she still dares to act innocent as if nothing happened. Sher tries to deny it, saying he doesn't know what he is talking about, that it is a misunderstanding, and asking Ruo to convince Xia, reminding her she is his girlfriend and that they are getting married soon, claiming he will be the best man, while Ruo asks if he doesn't want to marry her anymore, saying she won't demand any dowry, that he no longer has anything, and even so she is willing to stay by his side, asking him to say where that power comes from, and saying she will always love him. June appears holding a knife, and Xia stares at both before launching a wave of fire over them, saying he also wanted to know why he awakened the power of flames and now finally understood. Maybe it is because there are too many rotten people in this world, and that is why he wants to burn them all to the end. In the ancestral temple of the Song family, Tian stands before the memorial tablets asking the ancestors to bless the bloodline with prosperity, abundant harvests, and favorable weather, guiding them towards success, until a red mist takes over the altar and an ancient voice announces the need for spiritual antiques, the plasma of a maiden and a sacrifice. Tian answers that the ancestor need not worry, because they will soon deliver what was requested, and the voice informs that in 3 days, the apocalypse will descend upon the world and he must hurry. Tian repeats in shock about the apocalypse coming in 3 days, and immediately orders someone to buy large quantities of water and food, saying that if the ancestor's prediction is correct, the end of the world is near, and orders she and the others to be called to perform the sacrificial ritual at once. A sound echoes, and someone approaches saying that is not necessary, and the protagonist appears saying he came on his own before throwing June to the ground. Tian asks what he did, and how he dares invade the family's ancestral hall, questioning who he thinks he is and ordering them to eliminate him. Everyone advances while Xia closes his eyes, and upon opening them, releases a wave of light and flames that incinerates the attackers, leaving Song terrified while Yuan comments that it had been a while since he had used that, as the men scream, writhing amid the fire, and Tian is both frightened and furious. Song draws a pistol and tells Xia to go to hell, but when the shot is about to hit its target, the protagonist moves only one finger and the weapon explodes in Tian's hand, injuring him. And Xia comments that firearms are not toys and are dangerous, thinking that even being only a level 1 ability, the fire of the underworld is surprising, managing to deal with about 10 people at a range of 2 meters for 10 seconds, and that if there are flammable or explosive materials, the effect becomes even greater. Irritated, Song begs the Ancestor for help, saying the family is about to be destroyed, pleading to save the bloodline with divine power. The voice responds saying it is the Elder of the Ancient Star and orders the impure creature to kneel. Yuan is struck, and Tian celebrates, saying that his hand no longer hurts, and the people have stopped burning, claiming the Star Elder has descended to defeat evil, and Xia will lose his life. The Ancestor appears ahead, and the protagonist says the Song family really foresaw the apocalypse, and that there was someone behind them, saying he only intended to steal some antiques and some money, but now he has to deal with such a powerful being. The Elder lifts his foot to crush him, but Xia dodges. The Ancestor stretches out his hand to eliminate him, and Tian says that now he is truly finished, but is surprised to look ahead and see Yuan smiling as he summons the bear, asking who he said was finished. At the instant of the attack, Su comments that Huo is a fire star, an innate fire spirit that accumulated spiritual power for 1,000 years thanks to the family's offerings, and says that if it is captured and absorbed, the abilities of energy and fire control will drastically increase, making the protagonist ask what she is suggesting. Daji explains that the spiritual power of the great evil talisman is still insufficient, but if he is willing to take a risk, there is a chance to capture it, and Xia asks if that is serious and requests details. Su explains that he can draw a little of his own spiritual energy and infuse it into the talisman to summon one of them who will come help in the battle against the god, and Yuan replies that he can do that, but the spiritual energy comes from the soul, and if he fails to capture Huo and cannot repair his soul in time, he will lose his life and disappear, besides the risk that the summoned spirit can easily escape, and Daji asks if he intends to take that risk. The protagonist says why wouldn't he take the risk. Xia then releases flames over the emblem, and Su asks what he is doing, hearing Yuan explain that he implanted the underworld fire seed into the talisman, and that if he dies, the underworld fire will be activated and destroy the talisman completely, and without the talisman, no one in the world will be able to open the prison, and she will never see the sunlight again, saying that if she wants him to return alive, she knows exactly what she must do. He begins to absorb spiritual energy, and an intense light explodes, while a voice announces that the exit has been opened and the path to escape is clear, and Xia declares that he summons the great guardian demon of the mountain in the southern sea, the Black Urdo, calling him to battle. The bear emerges surrounded by a terrifying aura. The spiritual cage is opened, and Daji warns him not to do anything stupid, saying that the prison master cannot lose his life. In the fight, the bear leaps toward the Ancestor, saying he is finally free and the feeling is wonderful, while Yuan hits him, saying to finish it quickly because his spiritual energy will not last, and asking if he wants to see him die. And the bear replies that he understands, that he has always been loyal, and that he summoned the right demon. The bear then charges at the Ancestor, asking if an elemental god of the 5 elements dares to block his path, ordering him to hand over the fire spirit immediately. The Ancestor tries to invoke something, but is struck and asks how he dares attack him, claiming he transcended the limits of the world and cannot use all his power, saying it is better to retreat. A spiritual ribbon is thrown against him, and the protagonist responds that retreating is already too late and orders the god-binding rope to capture him. The rope coils around the Ancestor and immobilizes him completely, making Song shout that it is impossible and asking if that is not the rope that was stuck on the antiquity. And Xia comments that thanks to him, since he bought only the broken piece, he obtained the god-binding rope. Tian screams in despair as the Ancestor is converted into a fire spirit, and Yuan holds him, asking what he thinks about closing a deal, saying that in exchange for preserving the Song bloodline, he wants to know how much he is willing to pay. Shar, almost without strength, asks if the father really handed over all the family's money, and Song replies that the apocalypse is coming and asks what it matters to be without money, saying what matters is that they survived, stating that no one can know about this and that they must sell all properties immediately, turn everything into cash and buy rice and water, reminding of the mansion on the border that has an underground shelter where they can reinforce the structure and prepare, also ordering the old Huang to be called to continue buying antiques. He says the boy is on his own now, that thanks to the apocalypse he gained powers, and that if the Song heirs seize this chance, this apocalypse will be their triumph, and will make Xia regret all the disgrace he brought to the family. Elsewhere, the protagonist observes the balance of 38,960,000 yuan, equivalent to $23 million, and thinks that if he wasn't under so much pressure, he would have squeezed more from the Songs, but it doesn't matter. From now on, he needs to be efficient and take what he needs. He says he would like to buy 1 ton of spiritual cleansing pills. The vendor responds politely until she realizes it is 1 ton and asks if it is a joke, saying that cleansing pills only serve for fevers and toxins. Yuan asks if they sell it or not because if they don't have it, he will buy somewhere else. And the woman says they do sell it, but such an absurd amount requires a special order that may take 2 days and won't be cheap. The protagonist says he will give 20% up front, but wants everything by tomorrow night. He leaves thinking he already bought around 10 tons of pills in Jade City and placed online orders, thinking it will be enough, and reflects that no one would imagine that during the apocalypse that simple pill would become the most valuable item on Earth. Shia remembers that in the previous life he felt terrible and thought he was going to die, while his sister said she was sorry for not being able to buy enough pills since that medicine accelerated the emergence of abilities and held back the effects of zombification. And if they had known that they would have stocked more and to not give up, she went out looking for a nearby pharmacy. Yuan told her it was dangerous outside, but even so, she left and never returned. And this time, he will not allow that to happen. The protagonist thinks that the Song family only worries about stocking food for the coming apocalypse, but they don't imagine that in the initial stages, the most important thing is to control ability users. And by dominating the pill supply, he will also be able to control an army of users who will follow his orders. Xia holds the emblem and releases flames. An intense power erupts and Su congratulates him, saying that the infernal fire has been purified by the fire spirit and has become Red Lotus fire, which breaks barriers and cuts illusions, preventing illusions like the wine fantasy and the meat banquet from affecting him again, as well as advancing his power to the second phase and making his flame control more precise. Yuan summons a weapon and comments that the fire spirit is even more useful than he imagined, while the bear asks him to remember to summon him next time because that was very fun, saying his evil level dropped to 90 and now he will get an extra piece of meat at every prison meal. And Su explains that helping the master reduced his evil and improved his treatment, though it also stole a bit of his energy. The protagonist tells them both to be quiet, and a bird beside them provokes, saying that watchdogs tamed for a few benefits should stay silent, and that it's better the boy never summons him again, for he will only watch from afar waiting for a chance to escape. Xia says that now, with his power raised, more prison doors can be opened, and asks why he would summon someone stronger than him, claiming that when that happens, it will likely be that someone going after him instead. The amulet extinguishes the flames and Yuan looks out the window thinking that tomorrow will be the second to last day before the apocalypse, and he must use every minute. He still has millions available, and that is enough to buy that item. The next day at the exhibition jewelry auction, the protagonist enters saying this is the place, remembering that during the apocalypse, common resources can be looted, but the energy cores needed to level up only appear when killing zombies, and that stone contains crystallized energy enough to advance from Phase 2 to Phase 3. In his past life, someone obtained that stone and surpassed everyone, gaining huge advantages, and this time, he will do everything to ensure it stays with him. At the auction, the presenter slams the desk and announces that the Spring Jade set has been sold for $1,300,000, and introduces the next item, a rough stone with great potential that may be worth at least $5 million. Starting at 3. A blonde young man offers $5 million, and everyone is surprised, saying they expected no less from the Great How, stating that he already went straight to the maximum value and with him involved, no one would dare compete, praising his company. The boy thanks them and says he will invite them for drinks next time, until someone bids $6 million, making the girl ask who that student is. A boy with glasses comments that this is an exclusive auction for club members and only those with a black bank card can participate. Yuan shows the card asking if there is any problem, and the staff member says none, imagining he must be an heir of some family. The presenter announces the $6 million bid and asks if there are more offers, and the blonde says $7 million, asking the boy to show courage before the Great How so they can get to know each other, and the protagonist responds with $10 million. Everyone is even more shocked, saying the price has already surpassed the real value of the stone, and the girl comments that it is not worth getting angry with him, saying he's just showing off, and they can let him burn money. The blonde asks his name and Xia answers, and Hao says he will not forget him. The employee hands the stone to him and Yuan comments that he finally understands. The presenter announces the next item, a golden jade fan with pearls and gems, and people ask what that is, if it is a monster or demon, calling for help. The protagonist, who was already leaving, looks back and sees an intense aura around a flying creature, commenting that it seems the stone attracted it, and that the fan must have been near it before the auction and absorbed energy. With the apocalypse near, the evil spirit inside the fan awakened, and the world will soon fall into chaos with supernatural events increasing. that being only a preview. Hao shouts, asking what that is, and tells the boy to be careful. Yuan releases his power against the monster and dodges the attack. His eye shines, emitting intense flames that finish the creature, and he comments that it was not even that strong and barely managed to awaken that ability. Hao, lying on the floor, says Yuan is someone special and needs to become his master. Below Xia's building, several people observe the goods and ask if the boy bought all that and if he's going to open a supermarket, saying he seems like a good-hearted guy, and asking if he is starting his own business. A woman comments that young people are reckless and think they can conquer everything, saying that his store will fail. A girl asks if she herself didn't want to rent the warehouse to open a supermarket, and the lady says that dismantled place doesn't interest her. Shia thinks he has just spent all his money buying supplies and wonders if he's forgetting something. The worker informs him that all the goods have been delivered and asks if he wants to inspect them, and Shia says there is no need and thanks him. And the worker warns that another shipment will arrive tomorrow, and the warehouse may not have enough space. The irritated lady asks if there will be another shipment, and if he really got rich, complaining that he has no parents, does not respect elders, and now wants to open a supermarket, saying she is the one who should be making money and wanted that place. The child says he needs to pee and runs off, urinates inside the warehouse and sighs in relief, and the lady comments that he is so good he can pee on his own, saying children don't know any better, and asks Shia if he doesn't mind. The protagonist pushes the child into his own pee and then throws it onto his mother, who looks surprised, asking what he's doing, saying the boy was only playing and asking if he has no shame messing with the child. And Shia replies he has no shame at all before closing the warehouse. The woman leaves irritated while the child says he wants to set off fireworks, and the lady notices something and says that his grandmother will buy fireworks for him tonight and set off many, hinting that if any spark hits Xia's warehouse, it would be a shame. Inside the warehouse, the protagonist says everything is gathered and orders the great mortal prison to absorb. A light appears and all the boxes begin to disappear, and Sue comments that there are so many things that they can finally celebrate. Shia tells her to find an empty room and organize everything, and Daji replies that she is an expert at that, saying there are many live animals and they can separate an area in the tower to raise them, noting that with the tower's spiritual energy, the meat will become even tastier and they will have a constant supply of chickens. Yuan comments that the apocalypse is about to hit the world and he does not know how long it will last, so he intends to take other living creatures to preserve a trace of human civilization, and the bear says that he should cultivate because in times of hunger the most important things are seeds and soil, and as long as there are seeds, every form of life can continue, mentioning that he bought some of them. The protagonist says he understands and will be right back. In the surroundings, Jia wonders if all that soil will fit in the demon ceiling tower and orders it to absorb, and Sue tells him to stop saying that it can't hold more, that his spiritual energy is insufficient, and the created space is too small, stating that they will end up drowning in there. Yuan says he has already gathered around 10 tons of soil, but thinks it is little because after the apocalypse, all soil will be altered and that good earth will be impossible to find, and says there is no time to waste as a light envelops his body. The lady elsewhere prepares fireworks, saying that tonight she will see Xia eliminated when the child arrives holding something in his hands, and she asks where that mirror came from and if he took it from the shop where they bought the fireworks, praising her grandson for bringing gifts to his grandmother. The little boy then says there is someone inside, and the woman asks who, and he replies that there is someone in the mirror. A monster's face appears and the lady is frightened, saying that it is a ghost and tells him to take it away, but the child asks why his grandmother doesn't look at the mirror if she can do whatever she wants. The monster emits energy and the woman screams to get away, but the creature comes out of the mirror and attacks her. The child smiles sinisterly, saying it is fun, and calls his grandmother to keep playing. The energy in the place twists as the woman rises with a strange intent and absurd mana around her, calling the boy and saying she loves him, transforming into the monster and pulling the child as the pressure around increases. The next day at the port warehouse, someone asks if it will rain heavily, and another inside the ship says there is a problem, that they caught monstrous fish whose bodies ooze pus and have fangs, asking if they can eat that and blaming countries that dump polluted water into the sea, saying the fish mutated. Then someone enters a room saying the time has come and asks old Wu for the warehouse inventory. Wu has strange hands and the worker asks if he's all right, if he caught a cold and needs a day off. Men approach and the worker asks who they are, hearing that all the spiritual cleansing pills in the city are stored there, and answers that those goods are already sold and that if they want to buy, they can buy normally. The men advance and throw him away, moving toward the boxes, but one of them is pulled by the leg by old Wu, transformed into a monster. The others get ready and attack together until they defeat him, asking the boss if he is alright, and the boss replies that they must grab the medicine first, and if someone tries to stop them, they should simply… And the guard asks simply what? and if he plans to eliminate someone. The protagonist steps in saying that everything there belongs to him and was bought with real money, asking if the man wants to steal and if the world hasn't even ended yet and he's already in such a hurry to lose his life. The boss tells him to be reasonable, stating that the port and the industrial park belong to his boss. And since the goods haven't even left the port yet, he asks why he doesn't accept that as a favor and let them set the price. Shia replies that he has no interest in negotiating and tells him he has 1 minute, and if he doesn't leave, he will face the consequences, also asking if zombification has already begun. The men advance, but they can no longer see him, and Yuan moves over the boxes, asking if he said that all the port's goods belong to the boss, including those. The worker asks what he intends to do, and the protagonist says he wants to learn from him, steal. An explosion occurs. Elsewhere, a voice asks what he just said, and a woman asks if they not only failed to retrieve the medicines but also allowed all the goods to be stolen. The leader comments that the man clearly possesses powers and isn't someone ordinary, he's practically a monster, recalling that there were many things inside the warehouse and that when he shut the door it took an eternity to open again, and when they finally entered, nothing was left. The chief agrees and asks his name. The guard replies that he checked the recipient's data, and the registered name was Shia. She grows thoughtful, wondering if he is also a skill user. It even seemed like he had some kind of storage ability. But before she could conclude, she notices that the employee begins changing appearance, as if turning into a monster, and states that the poison has already reached his brain, that not even a spiritual cleansing pill would work now, and they must take him outside and burn him, ensuring nothing touches him and no one comes into contact with the plasma. The zombie leaps toward her, but the chief stands up, stretches out her hand and releases her herb magic that pierces his body while the surrounding pressure increases and the herbs close in. And she says, this is only the beginning, ordering them to keep searching for medicine and stocking weapons using the logistics warehouse as a base supported by the coast, reinforcing the front and gathering all men to prepare because the end of the world has come. Somewhere else, someone holds a spiritual cleansing pill while the protagonist explains that water and air are no longer safe, and that anything that touches the skin or is consumed must be bottled water, and everyone must take 3 spiritual cleansing pills a day, and if they feel cold, they must tell him. Yuan asks what is happening, and Xia answers that it is time for her to know and that he will explain while they walk, taking her somewhere. His sister comments that ever since she came back from school, it is the first time she has left the house, and that the feeling is strange. And Yuan explains that evil spirits are visible. A voice behind them says it finished eating but is still hungry. And it is that same old lady turned into a monster, saying she wants everything, complaining thousands of times that she couldn't stand people walking around the house and waking her up, saying everyone was against her and she should swallow them all while loud noises echo. In another spot, the protagonist gets into a taxi with his sister, just as Ruo passes, accompanied by a woman who asks if there is no security in that neighborhood, and Lan answers that poor security does not matter when someone as strong as Xiaoyan is around, stating that this will be their home forever. The woman comments that they did not invest hundreds of millions for nothing to give Ruo the most advanced reconstructive surgery and a Sakura-style makeover, and with that beauty, she would surely win over her target. Ruo agrees, saying he always loved that look and used to be obsessed with her, following her non-stop. And even though she does not understand why she was treated so harshly this time, now that he is strong and powerful, it will be easy to make him fall at her feet again, and with her abilities, no one will stop her, remembering that he even took something from the Shai family, and so there is no doubt he belongs to her. All she needs is to find him, flirt a little, and he will surrender, until Lan notices him entering a car, immediately gets in another, and tells the driver to follow quickly. Inside the car, Ruo yells that he is a treasure and she cannot let another woman take him, until the car stops at the zoo. There, a man argues, saying his son's cap was almost broken, and his face nearly hurt while the employee tries to apologize, explaining the animals are usually calm and he does not understand what happened. Yun asks if the animal's aggressiveness is also related to the end of the world, recalling that he already explained many things and she understands the apocalypse is coming, that humans may turn into zombies or survive and awaken special abilities, and that he could only predict all this because he awakened earlier. Shia confirms and thinks it is better not to talk about the suffering of his past life, so she does not feel bad. Yun asks if they shouldn't hide and why they were at the zoo, and Yan explains that hiding would only work for a while, that in the apocalypse, strength will be essential, and even if he has combat abilities, he will not always be able to protect her, because anything can happen and she also needs to become strong. Yun asks if she will manage, saying she does not want to be a burden and wants to improve, and the protagonist tells them to keep moving forward. Meanwhile, Ruo, still following the car, asks why he went to a zoo, and her mother advises her to stay close, simulate a casual meeting and charm him while Lan retouches her lipstick. The animals behind her keep staring strangely. In the turtle area, Sue comments that there is a special being there, and she can already sense its scent. The bear complains about being tired of dealing with foul-smelling, resistant, and long-lived creatures, while Xia observes a turtle on a rock. DG and the bear recognize it as an ancient turtle, and Yuan thinks it has lived there since the zoo was built. Over 100 years old, even with its own name on the plaque. The notice says it is an unknown long-lived land turtle named Nanan, and Yuan remembers that in his past life she became famous because a god once tried to pass through the place where she was and was bitten by her, fighting for days without managing to pierce her shell. Hearing that story, he imagined that if he could make this old turtle protect his sister, she would be absolutely safe. The protagonist approaches calling the Turtle Master. She stares at him and Xia releases his power through his eyes, saying he got hungry while they were walking and asks what she thinks about turtle soup. The turtle replies that humans are impatient, that in the past, some visited a cabin 3 times before asking for help, and that if he wants support, he should be polite, asking how he dares threaten her. Yuan states that the end of the world is near and there is no time for formalities, introducing his sister, who is impressed to see the animal speaking. The turtle coughs and explains that if she had not overeaten and gotten indigestion, the former zoo director would never have found and cared for her, and that name was just a coincidence. Hundreds of years pass, but for her more than 3,000 years, that is only the blink of an eye. The bear is astonished at the 3,000 years and comments she is about to become a god, and that consuming her spiritual essence would extend life by 100 years. Yuan asks her to help protect his sister and inquires about the conditions. The turtle replies that the world is in chaos, and the red moon dominates the sky, and that when the apocalypse arrives, her species will also suffer. The protagonist suggests taking the small turtles from the lake to the great mortal prison, building an internal lake and keeping them in safety, and the turtle asks about that place. A light appears around them, releasing lightning, and she recognizes that space filled with bolts where gods are imprisoned, stating that now everything makes sense, and that destiny brought him here a century ago for this reason. She then asks if he really thinks a brat can control such a dangerous prison, and says that the apocalypse is terrifying, but if he steps aside, he would cause damage even worse than the gods of the end of the world, questioning why she should help someone who might not even withstand the weight of 3,000 years of power. Xia faces the animal wrapped in an aura while blocking the attack, and the turtle unleashes her strength. Still at the zoo, Ruo comments she heard noise, and suddenly, her wig is snatched off by the animal behind her. Lan raises her purse, screaming for them to return the wig, but the creatures throw some liquid on both of them, and Ruo says it is drool while the mother is disgusted. Lan promises to eliminate them, but the mother insists they should forget it for now and focus on finding Yuan. The old woman puts the wig back on her daughter, who complains it is backwards, and both start running until reaching the turtle area, commenting on the bad smell. One of them steps on something, and the mother, disgusted, says at least that useless turtle served to clean her shoe. They keep moving until Ruo pushes aside large leaves, saying that if she moves everything, she might see Yuan and appear fragile and seductive when emerging from the bushes, believing he will fall instantly in love. When Lan parts the bushes, she comes face to face with the turtle, which immediately bites her arm. The small, sharp teeth exert immense pressure, causing unbearable pain and making escape difficult. Ruo is startled seeing the arm being bitten and thinks this ruins her plan, staying silent so as not to look ridiculous. More turtles appear heading toward the mother, who begins to scream in pain while Lan begs them to release her and for someone to save them. Both fall to the ground as the turtles keep biting. On the other side, the protagonist continues facing the larger turtle while the bear insists on letting him go, saying that with a slap, he could finish off that old creature and then they would divide the meat. Flames spread. Xia falls to his knees and the turtle laughs, saying that if he cannot endure, he should give up because everything is born and dies for a reason, asking what anyone can do in the midst of an apocalypse and saying it would be better not to entrust the great prison to him, assuring that she could keep everyone in peace even if the world were destroyed. A strange feeling arises while the turtle continues, saying that the great mortal prison is far too dangerous for someone untrained, and the bear feels dizzy and defeated, while Sue says she lost the will to do anything. Yuan asks if she has not learned the basics after living so long, saying that whoever does not move forward falls behind, and whoever does not believe loses their own life. A huge aura explodes around them. A thunderous sound echoes, and the turtle is startled to see Xia breaking free from the Buddhist mantra. The protagonist tells him to keep his tricks. Xia ties a rope to the turtle, and the bear states that she took the chance to attack and seize the great prison, and that they should eliminate her. Sue comments that she is one step away from becoming a goddess, and they almost fell into her plan, but the master has an unshakable will. Yuan orders her to surrender or die, and the turtle asks them not to attack while he replies that he will keep hitting. And the turtle complains that he is using the ancient technique from Mount Tai to stimulate bone reconstruction, asking if that is how he treats an elder and telling the girl to warn her brother to stop because he was mistreating an animal. The protagonist states that his abilities have improved and his strength has grown, and Yun appears asking him to leave Grandpa Turtle alone, saying he doesn't seem to want to do any harm. She touches his arm and Shia interrupts the strike, and the turtle thinks that even furious he maintained some clarity, asking not to be called Grandpa and only by Nanan. He reduces his size and states he can detect malicious intentions and that the boy has potential. From that moment on, under his protection, he will be safe. Yun thanks him and the bear asks if that means there will be no turtle soup, while Yan says they still need to be cautious and cannot leave her alone with a monster out of control. The turtle states she was only joking before, explaining that the Great Mortal Prison is an ancient and dangerous artifact that requires a bearer of extraordinary luck and that she would never dare covet it. A light surrounds the place, and the turtle declares that her soul will enter the prison that day and will be under his command. The protagonist says that her real body will stay beside his sister, and if anything strange happens, it will be struck by 10,000 lightning bolts, thinking that this way, her safety is guaranteed. An explosion happens, the smoke clears, and Shia appears atop a tree saying that was the problem. Several red-eyed animals start gathering. Yan observes that many types of animals are gathered, but not all have mutated, and he decides to take those that are fine and store them in the tower. He approaches the turtles and begins to collect them, and they thank him. Xia picks up his sister, saying he will take her to a safe place, and they move quickly until they hear someone calling. Ruo appears in the water, injured, without a wig and with torn clothes, calling herself his girlfriend. And Yan asks what she was doing there. Lan, right beside her, claims he is just being stubborn, saying he has always liked her and that he just did not swallow his pride to reconcile, reminding him that she is very beautiful, and since the breakup, he certainly cannot eat or sleep properly because she is perfect. The mother agrees, saying her daughter has always been in love with him, and asks if last time he did not say he wanted to propose to her, stating that she answered too quickly, but in truth is enchanted by him. And Lan says she can forgive him for being rough with her before. The protagonist keeps distancing himself and comments that they are completely crazy, while Ruo begs him to return, saying he should admire someone as beautiful as her and asking how he dares treat her that way. Animals begin to approach them, and Ruo panics, asking what they are doing, ordering them to get out of the way because, according to her, the most beautiful woman in the world would become queen, and all men should kneel at her feet. Impacts continue while Xia swiftly moves, collecting the remaining animals that are still normal, saying they have gathered almost all those in good condition and that first they must find a safe place. Just ahead there is an office of the zoo administration, and Yan notices that all staff have already abandoned the place, remembering that the park is in a distant rural area, flanked by a mountain, and for now, there will be no visitors besides the creatures. The cameras still work and there are dormitories with basic supplies, and Yun says the place is great and she will stay there for now, stressing that he has his own matters to handle and that he can go ahead because she can manage on her own. The protagonist asks if she is not afraid, and the sister replies that she is not alone, asking if Nanan is not with her, and explains that she knows her brother always protects her and that now she needs to become strong too. She says she already talked to Nanan and he will teach her to train her abilities, and in the future she wants to help her brother, which is exactly what he expected from her. Xia calls the turtle. Nanan tells him not to be so formal and states he knows what needs to be done, releasing light through his eyes as a great barrier forms around the place, preventing passage. Yan says everything is under control, and Yun asks her brother to take care of himself, saying she will wait for him there. The protagonist moves rapidly through the city, passing by destroyed cars covered in plasma, zombies devouring people, and a growing pressure in the air, thinking there is not much time left and he must hurry. Explosions and noises take over the city as it begins to collapse. A reporter announces that there was a car accident and chaos has spread, with many patients showing bluish skin, red eyes, and persistent high fever. And the National Health Committee is coordinating rescue operations. Specialists advise the population to remain at home, warning about climate anomalies and an impending storm, recommending stocking food, water, and medicine. Elsewhere, a sleepy girl watches the news and asks what is happening, saying everything feels like the end of the world. Scared, she sees recordings of zombies and reads comments confirming it is real, mentioning that a classmate felt sick, went to the hospital, and witnessed someone transforming and attacking. She looks out the window and sees the shadow of a huge creature, keeps reading the comments and finds it all strange, asking why she also feels feverish. Her hands start changing. Bai wonders if it is what she thinks or just a simple cold. She sits on the floor, grabs something, and remembers what Yuan said, realizing she bought many things because of him. She takes a spiritual cleansing pill, her eyes grow heavy, and Bai ends up passing out on the sofa. Meanwhile, the protagonist heads to another spot and comments that there is still 1 hour left. Before that, from 6 in the evening onward, small gods will begin to appear, remembering that the first one appeared exactly at the Imperial Tower building. That day, the deity descended, causing massive destruction and toppling entire buildings, throwing humanity into panic. And if he could find it again, he might act beforehand. Shia sits on the ground, closes his eyes, and releases mana around him. As the colors change and a light surrounds his body, Yuan opens his eyes, saying that his power has reached the peak of the 3rd level and that the Red Lotus Seed has undergone a new mutation. He observes his attributes excitedly, commenting that with Fire Spirit and a few turtle bones, his ability will rise 2 levels and the bone absorption will greatly increase his spiritual power. The light becomes redder until Shia hears a noise, and a young man appears asking who allowed someone to come up there, saying it's an Imperial private area and that he must be removed immediately. One of the men approaches, telling the manager that the elevators and access points are locked, and asks how the boy got up. But the manager hits him in the face and says he is tired of excuses, claiming everyone looks lazy and he will deduct a whole month's salary. The employee apologizes, holding his face, and the manager watches irritated while the men prepare to attack the boy, but Yuan announces that the manager is right there. Everyone stops when they see the terrifying red light appearing in the place and ask what that is. An even stronger light explodes and summons a many-legged monster, a bull demon rank soldier. The manager is terrified to see it and starts screaming, telling the bull to look at him, asking it to run to protect him, promising to raise everyone's salaries if they help him, until the bull slices him in half. The men panic and run, but the bull chases them, crushing several while saying there are too many insects and he will turn them into paste. He raises his foot to stomp the protagonist, but the strike does not descend. Shia holds the foot firmly and asks if with that strength it really thinks it can crush him. Yuan releases his flames, saying he will use it for training, and the bull asks if he can understand what it is saying. The protagonist holds the foot with one hand and his weapon with the other, jumping with a smile while the men watch shocked, commenting that maybe he really can eliminate the creature. The bull stares at the boy, saying he thought eliminating insects would be simple, but this was fun, and promises to tear him apart, ordering him to be grateful for being a sturdy insect. The protagonist advances, the bull shows its teeth, and Shia smiles, asking if it gets emotional having a leg cut off, suggesting cutting an arm now. Yuan leaps onto its horn with his sword. The bull grows furious as flames spread and everyone watches closely. The bull's arm falls to the ground and it asks what the boy did, and Shia comments it would be better to go easy since there are still several legs and an arm left, and it cannot lose its life so quickly, not before satisfying his own training. The bull feels intense pain. Attacks continue and Yuan increases his flames while the bull complains that the day to break the barrier has not even arrived, and it still wanted to eliminate more insects. The protagonist slices it into parts and comments that it is even weaker than he expected, but that this is only the first creature, sitting breathlessly and saying that the next divine monsters will be even stronger. Yuan touches the enemy's head and commands it to willingly give up its spiritual energy if it wants to end things quickly, asking if it prefers to keep being tortured, and the bull states it would rather die than be humiliated and will fight to the end. A light appears, its body deforms, and a blue light shows up right after, leaving the protagonist puzzled, asking what that was, saying he fought the whole time and it never gave up. But a single look at the great prison was enough to terrify it. Xia's spiritual energy reaches 3.5%, increasing 5%, and he considers the result excellent, also feeling that his control over fire has become more precise. Yuan thinks it must already be past 2 o'clock, and that several emergence points will begin to appear. He remembers some and decides to act according to the situation. The men approach impressed, saying he is incredible for having eliminated the monster. They admit they offended him earlier and ask what is really happening. The protagonist simply states that the apocalypse has arrived and they ask to follow him. Shia jumps from the building without responding, and the men grow desperate, asking what to do, until one of them tries to grab an axe, saying the corpse could be worth a lot of money. He raises the axe, but everyone becomes confused when they see the bull's body moving, thinking the corpse has turned into another corpse, when a voice warns them to be careful and says it might be better to wash first. One of the men begins to change, his skin twists, and he transforms into a zombie, charging toward the group. The survivors scream in despair while explosions continue erupting across the entire city. In the Song family, inside the village shelter, a boy opens the door warning that one more person has a fever. Tian orders him to take them to the isolation wing and asks if he needs to repeat it, but the boy says desperately that this time the one with the fever is his own son. Song runs to Shi, who speaks with difficulty asking his father to save him while his body seems to be reacting strangely. Tian asks where the medicine that could treat that illness is and why they still haven't found it. The boy explains that only one family member took both spiritual cleansing pills and his fever decreased, but he still hasn't fully recovered. Song asks what he is waiting for and orders the medicine quickly. He throws the pills, Shia catches them and immediately swallows them, trembling. Tian watches closely while Jun says he is feeling much better, and Song, surprised by the effectiveness, orders them to find more spiritual cleansing pills. The boy says they are searching and Tian asks why only those remain, reminding that he had ordered medicines to be stocked. The boy explains that spiritual cleansing pills were seen as traditional remedies for colds and fevers, with many modern and expensive alternatives in the market, so no one paid attention to them before. Tian orders them to go out and steal or loot if necessary, saying they have weapons and ammunition. The boy mentions that all the pills were bought in advance by someone named Shia, and Song complains saying he tricked them for $60 and bought everything. The boy adds that the city is in chaos. Underground networks have stopped working and asks what they should do now. Tian says it is unbearable, that Shia has supernatural powers and asks how they could face him in that situation, fearing that the Song family is about to die. At that moment, the door is smashed open and Tian is startled to see Shia surrounded by an intense aura. Jun says he feels something strange, as if all the filth has been washed away from his body. Shia strikes the wall forcefully and says he is much stronger, laughing while Tian watches in disbelief. He says he has awakened supernatural powers and finally knows what it feels like to be full of strength. Song concludes that the pills have miraculous effects when taken right at the beginning of the illness and asks if they really can grant abilities. He says it is excellent and orders to prioritize those with mild symptoms, stating that with 3 boxes, at least 3 new users can emerge. Then he says to gather everyone and take over the medicine warehouse, affirming that when the Song family controls the ability, users, everything will be theirs. Elsewhere, Bai wakes up commenting that the medicine really worked because her symptoms have almost disappeared. She grabs the pouch with the pills, confused, asking if she's seeing it clearly when someone knocks on the door saying it is someone she knows. The teacher asks what is happening and Ziner, breathless, says, "There are zombies in the building. Many residents have transformed and are attacking people, and anyone who gets injured turns into a zombie too," insisting that she must be saved. Bai tries to open the door but the chain jams and she panics. Ziner hears noises coming from the stairs and tells her to hurry because the zombies are coming up. Bai finally unlocks it and tells her to get in quickly. Ziner rushes inside and the teacher notices a scratch on her back asking if she was hit. Ziner, with a strange look, asks if she noticed, and Bai remembers that she herself said that the injured turn into zombies. Ziner replies that she will not transform if she takes spiritual cleansing pills, saying that's what everyone says on the internet, and asks if Bai has any. At that moment, a hand pushes through the door opening. The zombies are now managing to force their way in. Ziner says that now it is too late, pushes Bai outside and says she only wants to ask a favor, that she may gain a little more time, while Bai desperately bangs on the door, telling her to open and asking what she is doing. For a moment, Ziner asks what she was doing, but soon her expression changes and she says Bai has no idea how much she hates her, asking why she had such a better life than hers, why she was born without worrying about food or clothes, why she always had spare money to help someone like her, thanking her for supporting her all those years and at the same time saying she despised her for it, claiming she only wanted to buy a designer handbag like everyone else. The teacher asks why she thinks that way and reminds her she always helped, asking if that too would have been a mistake. Ziner replies it was her obligation to help, and asks if Bai never felt that false satisfaction for being so generous with someone like her, saying she might lose her life now. Noises begin to emerge, and Ziner claims that Bai is being slowly devoured by the zombies, and says she is very lucky, hoping that when the zombies finish, they leave some peace so she can stomp on it and relieve all that accumulated generosity. Ziner's back begins to turn purple. She looks in the mirror and realizes she will also transform into one of those horrible creatures, saying she needs the first aid kit. She finds a box of spiritual cleansing pills and celebrates, saying she is saved, but when she opens it, she realizes it is empty and complains that the damn woman ate them all, looking at the receipt confirming Bai had bought many. She searches everything in despair, claiming she can still survive if she finds any, but her eyes widen when she realizes there is nothing left and asks why she cannot find any. Her hands begin to change and Ziner screams until music starts playing. She grabs the phone and notices it is the exclusive ringtone she set for Bai, becoming even more frightened when she sees it as her sister calling. Bai appears on the video call looking better than ever, and Ziner asks how she is still alive. The teacher shows the pills in her hand and asks if Ziner was looking for those. Desperate, Ziner asks if they are spiritual cleansing pills and if Bai has them all, and Bai asks if she truly wants them. Ziner panics and says she was just confused for a moment, that she was wounded by a zombie and became scared, with her mind clouded, not knowing what she was doing. She says she will come to her wherever she is and bring the pills, saying she always cared about her and asking if Bai does not care about kids like her, promising to kneel and apologize if that makes her less upset, claiming she has always been good and begging for forgiveness. Ziner thinks Bai has a soft heart and that if she pleads enough, she will not resist, and once she gets the pills, she will deal with her afterwards. Bai tells her to stop acting, saying it is disgusting and she will not fall again into her game. The teacher states she always thought Ziner only had not matured because she grew up without proper education, being spoiled and rebellious, which is why she treated her as a sister, never imagining she would be repaid with so much betrayal. She asks how many people, with the arrival of the apocalypse, will reveal a nature even more terrifying than the flesh-eating monsters. Ziner insists on being helped, saying she was wrong, but the teacher says she is not a saint and tells her to go to hell to repent, ending the call. Ziner collapses on the floor, repeating several times she does not want to die until she screams in despair. Meanwhile, Bai leans against the wall holding the pills when a zombie appears. She notices and runs with an aura around her, managing to escape. She thinks that after being pushed outside, she believed she was doomed, but when the monsters came close, her body turned transparent and she was able to run, realizing that the zombies could not see her. Bai understands she does not know why she can become invisible or why it happens. She only knows her energy is being drained quickly, and she will not be able to maintain the state for long, needing to flee that place as fast as possible. With invisibility activated, she escapes through the corridors until the effect fades. Noises arise and Bai asks what she should do now until hearing someone calling. It is Grandpa Chen and Sister Wang. The teacher runs toward them but stops in the way, asking if they were all right, and Wang says yes, that they were not infected and were walking around the neighborhood when they saw the messages in the resident group and hid there. Bai asks about the messages, grabs her phone and realizes there are more than 999 unread notifications. And as she begins to open each one, she becomes completely shocked. Grandpa Chen comments that many people were trapped in the buildings and even more lost their lives, that they tried calling emergency services but nobody answers, calling all of that a tragedy. The boy beside them starts crying, saying he can't reach his father or mother, that he had only been working for a few days and never imagined something like this could happen. Wang asks what they should do now and says that if this continues, everything will be lost. Bai looks around frightened and asks if the entire city is already doomed, warning them to be careful because zombies are advancing behind them. The three step back while the zombies murmur that they want to go home and ask them to open the door, insisting they are also residents. The teacher orders them to stand up and run to the security room and grab an electric baton. The boy says yes, darts through the corridor, grabs the baton and hits the zombies, knocking them down while Bai says they are almost making it. The boy gives a thumbs up, but immediately more zombies emerge, a lot of them, and everyone freezes, not knowing what to do. Suddenly the zombies rush toward them, and they all start running desperately through the hallways as they realize there are undead everywhere surrounding all exits. A bright light appears in the sky and a huge spider is summoned, crashing to the ground and destroying everything around, leaving the teacher terrified. The creature stares at everyone, saying those prey belong to it, throwing webs over them and around as if marking territory. Bai wonders what kind of monster that is, why it fell from the sky, and if there are more creatures like it above the clouds. The teacher feels like the end of the world is literally the end and wonders if Shia really knew all of this and what she should do now as the spider keeps advancing. In another part of the city, many finished zombies are piled up, and people start recording. The protagonist observes a crystal in his hand, thinking he did not expect to find something like this while searching for the second descendant of God, realizing that even the zombies are evolving. A boy approaches with his phone, thanking him for saving them, and asks what kind of magic he used, saying it is incredible and that he is streaming everything, claiming the viewers already passed 10,000 until Shia destroys the phone. The boy asks angrily what he did, and everyone looks scared to the side. Shia thinks he was not the only one to react and that everything has already been looted. Inside the warehouse, only some boxes of canned food, sodas, instant noodles, and other basic products are left. It is not much, but still a good reward. Yuan opens the door and several people look at him asking for help. The protagonist releases a light and throws some food to them, telling them to take care of themselves. The people thank him, relieved to be alive, and ask who he is, commenting that he is impressive and they were lucky to find him. One of them says he is a good man and that without him, they would be dead. Another replies that good man nothing, that he took almost everything by himself, leaving only a few noodle packs, asking if they did not see that and if he's treating them all like dogs. The irritated boy says that besides that, if Shia had not broken his phone, the stream would already have passed 1,000 viewers and he would be famous. He He complains, saying everyone was at the supermarket and the supplies should be divided, asking how long that food will last, claiming clearly he was mocking everyone. He also says that just because someone has special abilities does not mean they can do whatever they want, saying that many people on the internet also awakened powers, and asks why he cannot have his own too. He says that if he had abilities, he would be a great hero, distribute resources and save everyone, and that people like Shia are selfish. The partners beside him agree, saying that since he saved them, he should help them until the end and share the supplies, claiming that maybe that catastrophe was caused exactly by people with special abilities like him, who only think about getting stronger and ignore the rest. A bearded man asks what they are saying, reminding them he just saved everyone there. The enraged boy calls the other one a dog for defending Shia, saying that even if he offered loyalty, Xia would not accept it, and asking if they do not realize that the greater the power, the greater the responsibility should be, and that Xia should have saved them completely. Some men approach and Sher asks if they can say something, and soon a fight starts between them. The boy falls to the ground, begging not to be eliminated, and says he already told them everything, pointing to the right and revealing the direction Xia went. Jun grabs the food and asks if the boy really wants to know the reason, and the boy, trembling, asks if it is because of the instant noodles, saying Xia can keep everything, and asking if that is okay. She replies that he is ashamed that the boy got everything wrong, and Jun smiles faintly. At that moment, someone appears dragging a zombie, and the boy asks what he is doing. Sher explains it is just a small experiment, while Jun brings the zombie's head close to the boy's face, and the undead immediately bites him. Sher tells him not to despair, that this sacrifice is for the great cause of humanity against the zombies, and the boy screams while the men around comment in horror that the zombie has already devoured all his insides. When the body falls, Jun cuts off the zombie's head and collects the crystal core, saying it is exactly as he expected, that if the zombies eat enough humans, they can condense these cores, and that this is amazing, just like the one he absorbed earlier. He says he feels his power growing, that he may break through another barrier and become even stronger. The partner beside him says that when Jun becomes more powerful, it will not be difficult to trick Xia and defeat him like a punching bag, and that now they have discovered a method to mass-produce these cores. Shizher says the most important thing now is to make Xia pick all the spiritual pills, because there are many level 2 zombies in the city. If they find any while following him, they must eliminate it and get the crystal. As for the men in front of them, it is better to get rid of them for good. The three beg for their lives, saying they are also ability users, but Shia asks if they think ability users are worth more than pigs and dogs. The bearded man tries to argue, saying that an ability user saved him before, but the partner answers that all of this is his fault, repeating that it is his fault, and the villain beheads the three without hesitation. Sher yawns, saying he is bored, and orders them to get out of there. They walk to the place where the building collapsed and realize Yuan went in that direction. They get in the car and follow. Everything around is polluted, and the protagonist is observing when he feels something and estimates the distance to be about 2,000 meters. With his current speed, he can get there quickly and stays alert. The giant spider is about to swallow Grandpa Chen while Wang screams for him. Bai tries to free herself from the webs without success, saying she cannot break free. She tries to activate invisibility again, but her energy is depleted and nothing happens. Wang begs for help despairingly, and Bai tries to remember how she awakened that power, realizing it happened after she took the spiritual cleansing pills. With no other option, she swallows another pill just as Wang is about to be devoured and hopes it works. Mana spreads around her body and the spider senses something strange, unable to see her for an instant. When it looks to the side, the protagonist uses the chance, grabs Wang in his arms, and puts her safely on the ground. She immediately runs while Xia notices the spider's shell has some resistance to fire. The creature says he looks delicious and now belongs to her. Yuan leaps with the axe and strikes the monster. The spider launches webs, but the protagonist burns them, making it scream. He touches the ground and notices small spiders emerging from everywhere surrounding him. Near the buildings, Shui approaches by car with his partners, running over everything ahead and collecting another core. Jun comments that with 7 or 8 more, he may take an even greater leap, and that the number of level 2 zombies only increases. One of them points forward, saying that looks like a spider nest, and there is a burned hole, as if someone had gone in, probably Yuan, the fire user. They discuss whether to enter or not, but soon notice many spiders around. A sharp sound echoes. One of them fires a pistol, and the spider keeps approaching until it is struck by Shia. Jun observes the oozing liquid and says it is disgusting, but notes there are traces of crystal core energy there. And even if minimal, it is pure energy. If they hunt enough, it will not be worse than zombie crystals. Meanwhile, the protagonist keeps fighting the giant spider. The villains finally spot him and remark it truly is enormous. Shia says that eliminating that spider would bring far greater benefits than any zombie, and the partner asks what they should do. Jun says to let the giant monster fight Yuan while they hunt the small spiders, absorbing energy and strengthening their abilities. Thus, when the hero and the spider destroy each other, they will be stronger than ever and will seize everything like true opportunists. The bigger spider advances across its own web toward the hatchlings, and Shia unleashes his flames against it and the swarm, creating an explosion of fire that lights up the entire nest while Yuan leaps across the ground. The blazing flames keep spreading and the spider screams in pain. The protagonist asks if it intends to use the small spiders to wear him down and says to see who will be faster, her spawning more creatures or him eliminating them all. At that moment, Xia notices Shi beside him crushing smaller spiders while Jun splits open their bodies and drinks the internal fluid, saying it is amazing because he has become even stronger. Yuan watches and wonders if Shi has become an ability user again, remembering that in his past life he already had exceptional talent, even managing to steal the insignia of the Great Prison and become a leader praised by everyone. This time, he also achieved a breakthrough. The men beside him do the same, drinking the liquid from the small spiders and claiming that now they can kill any hatchling with a single blow, gaining strength equivalent to 50 kilos, and that with Shi there nobody will be able to face them. Shi says he wants to step on Xia's face, explaining that even with a little energy, those creatures have something addictive, and the feeling of getting stronger is irresistible. The protagonist flies over them and comments that it's disgusting that they are eating spiders, saying their appetite surpasses even that of zombies. One of the men asks about the giant creature, and Xia points to the side, asking if they are looking for her, saying that if they like eating spiders so much, they should apologize directly to their mother, because she does not look happy. The larger spider falls over them, staring at the group, and releases new hatchlings, ordering them to tear everyone to pieces. They panic as they try to fight the small creatures. Yuan watches from afar and comments that Shi is truly good at provoking hatred, since he has a face that invites attacks. Jun, burning with energy, declares he is an ability user and that he will eliminate Xia. The protagonist says that's amazing, and that he has something to tell him later, but first, he must settle things here and asks him to wait a bit. Shi asks if he dares underestimate him, while the gunman says he is out of bullets and asks why they don't retreat to think better. But Shi says they can't and that they must eliminate Xia immediately. The partner asks what is happening to Jun because his body begins mutating and his shirt tears at the shoulders. Shi grabs a live spider in his hand and rips off its head with his teeth, saying he has gotten stronger again. The boy calls Jun, but he tells him to shut up and keep hunting spiders, claiming they are all his food and the more he eats, the more he will grow. He tells them to watch closely because that is his power evolving, and if anyone mentions retreating or blocking his path again, they will know what the result will be. The gunman backs off, saying they will hunt more spiders for him, guaranteeing that Jun will be able to eliminate Xia. Meanwhile, the protagonist continues fighting the Spider Queen and comments that her carapace is very resistant. They exchange blows, webs are launched, and the creature tries to corner him with precise leaps. Shu observes from afar until a web wraps around him, and the spider gets excited, believing she has captured him, saying she will savor him completely. Xia asks if she really intends to lose her life by daring to get so close, and the flames intensify, rising like blazing pillars. The spider screams as the fire consumes her. Amid the flames, Xia says that heaven may have gates he won't enter, but hell has no gates and he enters anyway until the burning spider turns completely to ashes. Yuan says it's strange and asks where the creature's spiritual power is. Something behind him believes the protagonist has fallen into a trap and shouts. Xia touches the energy with all his strength. The dying Spider Queen wonders how he can be so strong and says she must report it until Xia absorbs all the energy and claims to have reached the 4th stage. Yuan feels something strange and says it is hot, until he notices a glow at the center and says it is the red lotus flame, wondering if a spiritual beast fell there, and realizing his new abilities allow him to directly observe the sources of energy. Xia comments that this must be the meaning of the penetrating fire vision. Behind him, Bai and her sister Chang watch, and Yuan wonders if that energy is theirs, and if the sister's teacher truly has an invisibility ability, until the protagonist notices something and Shai screams holding a spider in his hand and says, he did it. Jun's body grows larger and says he is stronger now, that this is how it feels to be at the 2nd stage of energy and power, that he is full of strength and sees that all that power has 9 stages. It is a heavenly gift, and after the 9th stage, he will become a god and he has seen and set foot on the divine path. Shi notices Xia ahead and says he has always been inferior to him in everything, and this time will be no different, and asks if now that he's at the 2nd stage, how could he face him, and tells him to kneel and lick his feet until Jun is struck in the face by a punch and thrown far away by Yuan. Shia is shocked and says it cannot be. He is in the second stage and asks how he can defeat someone like himself. And the protagonist asks why he doesn't try to guess and says he will tell him that if it weren't for the money his family gave him, he wouldn't have improved so fast and he is a good brother. And Jun says that it cannot be and that he can still become stronger, and Shia keeps eating spider pieces. Xia smiles and says he has always been a cautious person and asks why he is so desperate now, and Jun asks what he is talking about. Yuan replies that in the past, even knowing that mutant creature cores could increase power, he would have conducted experiments first to make sure they had no side effects, but this time, just to eliminate him, he ignored everything and swallowed those disgusting things. Shia asks about side effects and says he is making things up non-stop and that it is impossible, that he is on the divine path, an ability user, one of the chosen ones, and needs to become stronger. The protagonist asks about the divine path and says if he is serious, why doesn't he look more closely? Jun is surprised and looks at the enormous shining tree in front of him and says it is beautiful, that this is the true divine path, the path to becoming stronger, and that Xia is just trying to confuse him with lies, and that he is finished because Jun himself is now stronger. Shia laughs and tries to hit him, but fails because his foot is stuck, and there are several monsters there and voices tell him to come down and join them. Jun asks for help and questions what that is, as his eyes start turning red and his hands and skin become strange. God Essence, the protagonist asks if that was zombification, and comments that he didn't realize it even after eliminating so many zombies, while Shia, in despair, wants to know the reason, and Xia explains that he absorbed too much energy from zombies and creatures, and that in the previous life, many ability users ended up turning into zombies precisely because of that accelerated absorption. Although there was still a solution, making Jun ask for help and question what that was and what the way out was, and Yuan replies that the solution was the spiritual cleansing pills, leaving Shia shocked as the protagonist says that if he had advanced slowly and absorbed in moderation, he would have controlled the toxicity of zombie cores and mutant energy, since the pills eliminated toxic heat, balanced the energy and calmed the spirit, allowing him to overcome that crisis and continue advancing through the so-called divine path. And Jun starts crying, begging to be saved, and even promising slavery, but Yuan asks what he is saying and reminds him that they were Iron Brothers, making Shia smile immediately before being struck when the protagonist states it would be better for him to lose his life right now because he insulted and even tried to harm his sister, was given a chance and showed no gratitude, destroying himself in a way that not even gods could undo. And lying on the ground, he still begs for the spiritual pills, while the protagonist shows the box and asks if that was what he wanted and how a single box would be enough, leaving Jun shocked when Xia states that it was at least a ton of spiritual cleansing pills, and that if his family had access to that, ability users would advance without difficulty and become extremely powerful, saying that if he were still his Iron Brother, he would have received everything without restraint. But it was a pity, and that was the fate he chose himself. And Jun tries to attack from behind but is struck by the still exhausted teacher, making Yuan admit he didn't expect such courage, while Bai apologizes, saying she heard the whole conversation and thought they were friends and maybe he didn't really want to eliminate him. So she acted on her own, thanking him for the suggestion about buying spiritual cleansing pills. And she keeps holding the weapon firmly, piercing Shi's body and hitting his face, saying she saw on the internet that by eliminating stronger zombies, it was possible to obtain energy crystals and asks if it was there, handing the crystal to the protagonist, who confirms that Shia, being a level 2 ability user, really possessed a crystal after turning into a zombie and says that crystal belonged to her. And the teacher thanks him and begins absorbing the crystal as an aura spreads around her body, and Bai thinks her energy has recovered quite a bit, but remembers she needs to be careful with her own body's limits so she doesn't end up like a monster. And Xia comments that her ability is interesting, similar to invisibility, but working in a different way that, if used wisely, would greatly increase her chances of surviving the apocalypse, allowing her to do whatever was necessary to stay alive. And the teacher asks if he is Xiao Yun's brother and says she wants to propose a deal to him, making Yuan ask what deal that was, while Bai states that the spider he's hunting is very big, and that over time, monsters of that level will become more and more common, and that he will need to hunt them to strengthen his abilities. And the protagonist says she observes well, as the teacher says that in the end, he's just one person and won't be able to eliminate all monsters alone. So maybe she could help. And Xia asks how she could help eliminate monsters, hearing that she can gather information, search for resources, act as bait, and even hunt. asking only for a chance to prove her value, and Yuan asks what she really wanted, hearing that she only wished to become stronger and survive, and asks if that bothered him, and the protagonist says he wants her to go to the hospital, eliminate the monster hiding there, and bring back the loot, asking if she accepted the challenge, and the teacher replies yes, and that she would go immediately. And Xia warns that the monster is very strong like the spider, but Bai asks how long she would survive in an apocalypse if she couldn't face something like that, saying she would take the risk, and leaves walking while Yuan comments that that was determination, and the teacher goes ahead using her invisibility ability. The protagonist thinks everything is under control and that if she really completes what she intends, he wouldn't mind having another partner because there is no time to waste, and the best thing is to start putting out those two fires. In another part of the city, objects are thrown while Song, consumed by fury and pain, cries over his son's end, and the boy beside him comments that the young master consumed too many monsters. The body couldn't take it, and the other took advantage of the opening to deceive him, revealing that the one responsible has a sister, and her location has already been found. Tien demands that everyone move immediately, stating that since they eliminated his son, the sister will face the same fate, assuring them that she certainly carries spiritual cleansing pills and that they must capture her to take them, reminding them that no matter how strong Shia is, the sister is still just a normal person, and he's in the city, unable to be in two places at once. Meanwhile, Yun is watching television as the reporter announces terrorist attacks and a growing epidemic, instructing everyone to stay home and wait for rescue. Experts link the outbreak to the dumping of nuclear wastewater and mention that spiritual cleansing pills may relieve symptoms, while the police remain paralyzed and the government activates a Level 1 emergency plan, sending in special forces, leaving Yun uneasy. Elsewhere in the city, lightning tears through the sky and the rain grows heavier. Yun watches through the window and asks if her brother will be all right, and the turtle tells her to stay calm, explaining that with the master's spiritual strength, very few things can harm him, then asks if she has already chosen which ability she wants to learn, saying it possesses 3 talismans, each containing a heritage of immortal arts, now called abilities. Yun says she thought it through and chooses the Chihuang art. The turtle says that technique will help her brother even more since it is focused on healing, and praises her kind heart. A powerful energy fills the air as the turtle begins the process, telling Yun to embrace what is incomplete within her and keep her mind calm because the knowledge will be released little by little, reminding her not to be greedy and to absorb slowly. The Chihuang talisman came from a great being who asked for it to be given to someone with affinity, which is why the turtle never learned that art itself, and it doesn't know how much Yun will be able to absorb on her first attempt until it notices someone approaching. Outside, Song advances with his armed men, while Tien claims that with so many combatants and 3 ability users, capturing a little girl will be easy, guaranteeing that they will tear her apart to avenge his son. The guard tries to break down the door, believing she could never withstand his attack, but he is thrown back feeling sharp pain in his shoulder. Another tries next, calling the first useless. Yet as he charges in with 2 other soldiers, he too is knocked down, leaving everyone stunned, since with that kind of strength, they could shatter a 500-kilo iron door and making them question what material that door was made of. Song, impatient, pushes the others, who say they're almost getting it. Since they can't open the door, they decide to strike the windows, but their weapons hit the glass without causing any damage, raising suspicions about extremely high-resistance tempered glass. One of them says they need another strategy because the Patriarch is losing patience. Another soldier suggests high-level explosives capable of opening underground vaults, warning that the building might collapse and the girl might die, and his partner replies that anyone who dares offend the Song family deserves that fate. The explosives detonate, but the door remains intact thanks to the barrier, shocking them all. They notice the protection and conclude it is an ability. At that moment, other youths approach and the blonde releases electric sparks, saying he knew they wouldn't open the door after all that time, so now they'll have to solve it themselves. The 3 charge together, causing a massive impact that shatters the barrier, and the blonde says he wants to see what's hiding inside as he breaks down the door, assuring that before his lightning projectiles, any evil spirit will be exposed. His partners watch with interest, remembering that this boy has always had a volatile temper, and after awakening his ability, he became the strongest of the group. A surge of electricity fills the air, and the 2 comment that it seems the savage succeeded. They wait, but soon notice something strange and warn the Patriarch to stay back with the others, as the 2 of them will enter first to check. As they proceed, they find the place completely dark. One activates thermal vision and spots something above. The archer prepares to fire, but the turtle suddenly leaps right onto his nose, leaving him confused, asking what that was and where that sea turtle came from. He wastes time trying to get rid of it, throws its small body away and asks where the person they were searching for is hiding. The turtle protests, saying it is a turtle, startling the archer as he realizes it's speaking. And the turtle indignantly replies, telling him not to compare her to that old man and not to put them on the same level. Immediately afterwards, she unleashes a burst of water that pushes everyone back, making the men question what was happening as they are thrown outside. The turtle then appears mounted on the back of the already weakened blonde and declares that by nature she is calm and peaceful and has no desire to hurt anyone. The swordsman orders them to eliminate that creature and the soldiers open fire non-stop. But the barrier activates and the turtle sends the bullets back at the shooters, warning that everyone will be spared except those who insult her by calling her a sea turtle. Those will be the ones hit. The swordsman tries to dodge, irritated, and charges at her while the archer attacks as well, causing a violent impact. The turtle struggles to maintain the barrier and the two of them smile, believing it worked and they can proceed, until they are horrified to see her growing in size and asking why they keep insisting. They freeze in shock as the barriers shatter and the fragments float around them. The ability users are terrified before the colossal size of the marine creature, who releases a blinding light accompanied by waves of water, inviting them to stay there as her guests. Panicked, they scream to run. The turtle strikes one of them with a paw while the other tries to flee, but is reached by the water. Both beg for mercy as they nearly drown. The turtle says she holds no grudge and didn't care about being called a sea turtle, but declares that harming her master is unforgivable. Horrified, the two are crushed. The turtle then says that the real culprit is among them, and looking around, wonders if the infiltrator has already entered. Meanwhile, Yuan watches through the window as Song approaches from behind, holding a gun and smiling sinisterly as he says he only had one son and her brother dared to eliminate him. Tian fires, declaring that she will pay with her life, but the bullet falls to the ground, stopped by the protection around the girl. Song notices the barrier, and outside, the turtle states that the master entrusted that mission to her and asks how she could leave the girl in danger, saying that with the arrival of the apocalypse, Yuan must also face trials and grow, using that man as a whetstone since time is limited. Tian keeps firing non-stop and asks why she still hasn't lost her life, while the bullets only hit the barrier and Yuan remains frightened. Song insults her, saying that she is nothing but a commoner who deserves to be trampled by the wealthy, used and exploited to generate profit and then give plasma and descendants, destined to be enslaved generation after generation, and questions why she dares resist and is still alive. Tian stops shooting when Yuan, eyes wide, tells them not to come closer. Song approaches holding a dagger and starts striking the barrier, wanting to see how much it can withstand and how many cuts it can take. Tian opens a crack and says he's about to break everything, and once he repeatedly stabs her until she's gone, he'll send the photo of her corpse to her brother, ensuring she suffers more than they do and learns what happens when you anger those two, promising that her brother will soon join her. The noise intensifies as Song asks what happened, and if she is frozen in fear, saying everything is fine. Yuan stands up saying she can't lose her life, and Tian asks since when that depends on her. She insists that if she dies, her brother will be sad, so she needs to eliminate him first and asks to be allowed to stab him as well. Tian mocks her, saying she has never even killed a chicken and thinks she is capable of taking someone's life. Song steps forward again saying he is right there and asks why she doesn't try to eliminate him. At that moment, the barrier starts to crack and the turtle outside, looking at the moon, notices the protection breaking until it finally shatters completely. Yuan says it's all right now and that he can lose his life in peace. She activates her technique stating that Qi Huang is not only meant to save lives because someone who tries to harm her brother does not deserve forgiveness. She launches the attack and Tian, terrified, wonders if he is really going to die, lamenting that he has yet to avenge his son, whose corpse hasn't even cooled, and realizes his family is destroyed. He thinks that as head of the Song family, he led everyone to ruin and failed his ancestors in disgrace, fueling hatred toward the girl, her brother, and everything around him. In desperation, he cuts his own neck and declares that with his plasma and the Song family's fortune, he curses her brother and all of his. Plasma spurts from Song's body and the surrounding energy turns terrifying. Tian remains paralyzed as multiple snakes begin to emerge. Song kneels in the pool of plasma and a horrifying creature appears, demanding that he surrender his soul in its purest form and offer everything he is, hinting that it might be interested in descending early to have some fun. Tian, in tears and holding the dagger, cuts his neck again, and the creature calls him a stupid insect, saying that even so, he will serve as an appetizer. Song begins to laugh hysterically as massive amounts of plasma spray in all directions, with such overwhelming pressure that even the window glass shatters. The aura that forms is brutal. Creatures begin to be summoned, and he describes that resentment as something delicious. The turtle watches from a distance and wonders if that is a demigod. The surrounding barriers reorganize and reactivate. A snake slithers across the ground and as it rises, transforms into a serpent man, introducing himself as Yamata no Orochi and telling them to look at what he has found. A turtle brimming with energy and a strange little appendage announcing that after 1,000 years of hunger, he can finally feast. His aura spreads across the whole city. Elsewhere, the protagonist stands beside a freshly finished beast and comments that as his power grows, eliminating lesser creatures becomes increasingly simple. A noise emerges as the creature's plasma spreads into the river, runs across the trees and contaminates the fish. Shia observes that these monsters, whether alive or not, keep devouring the world and that, with time, not a single patch of fertile land will remain. He releases flames that ignite everything around him and upon noticing another monster charging forward, leaps onto a building, absorbs energy and keeps his gaze fixed ahead. He comes across a huge tree surrounded by people and asks if that is a demonic creature. In front of him, civilians retreat in fear as zombies draw near, while ability users struggle to hold them back. Shia lands on the ground and notices that the zombies do not approach the base of the tree, concluding that everyone is taking the opportunity to enter that protected space. Some people gathered beneath the tree notice that the zombies have really stopped, and Yuan senses that something is wrong, for although many are there, their expressions seem strange. Others around them sigh in relief, saying that at least there the zombies would not dare come closer, and ask what everyone is doing. Someone clasps their hands and says they can finally rest a bit since the fight was long, while ability users say they are exhausted but satisfied for having protected so many people. A girl asks what that tree is, and a boy explains that if she wants to survive, she needs to listen carefully. The protagonist recognizes that man as Supervisor Chen, who announces that the world is over and that everyone has already seen the chaos outside. Zombies, monsters, and eliminations everywhere. A lady says she saw her husband being devoured, and another asks what they must do now. The supervisor replies not to worry because, for now, under that tree they are safe. As long as they remain there, zombies won't approach, and everyone will stay alive. Then he says there is a price for that protection. A little girl asks what price that is, and Chen explains that the tree that defends them is called the Tree of Human Faces, a demigod from another world that feeds on offerings and devotion. He says the entity has a good heart and chose to save civilians, but to remain under its protection, tributes must be offered. A woman, surprised, asks about a demigod, saying she now understands why the zombies did not approach, and that it is lucky they are alive. Shia asks what kind of tribute must be given, while the people admit they did not bring incense, ritual money, or any kind of offering. They ask what they should offer the god of the tree, and the supervisor recognizes Yuan, thinking he is still alive and extremely lucky, but also that he arrived at the perfect moment. He then states that nothing complicated is needed, just sacrifice one person every 2 hours to the great tree of human faces, comparing it to the risk of everyone losing their lives and questioning whether that is not a fair deal. Everyone stares in horror upon hearing the word sacrifice and wonders if the tree devours people. Chen replies that he does not know whether the tree eats humans or not, but he is certain that the zombies outside are just waiting for their banquet. He then asks them to listen until the end, explaining that the Tree of Human Faces is merciful and would never eat anyone, and that those present must only bring their blessings. A frightened woman asks what he means by blessings. The supervisor then speaks about the future of the world, monsters roaming uncontrolled, human civilization collapsing, scarce resources, and reminds them that this is only the beginning of the apocalypse, because the chaos has barely begun and no one there has yet experienced the true hunger. In a few days, he says, they will be without water, without food, and surrounded by endless hordes of zombies, asking what they will do when that happens. He adds that dying of hunger or thirst will be everyone's inevitable fate, but now the great tree of human faces has extended its protection and is offering an exchange, homage for food. At that moment, he reveals ginseng fruits. Everyone pays attention as the supervisor states that for each person sacrificed, the tree grants 3 fruits, and that a single fruit is enough for someone to survive for an entire week. He also states that whoever eats one of those fruits gains extra abilities, mentioning that after eating one himself, he managed to establish a bond with the sacred tree and became its representative. He then argues that with just one sacrifice, 3 people can live and even gain supernatural powers in this cruel, ruined world, asking if there is any god more compassionate than the Tree of Human Faces, and if this is not clearly a blessing. The people respond that yes, it is a blessing. A man kneels, begging for a fruit and saying he will do anything. Soon, a lady steps forward, demanding they give it to her. Next, several start shouting for the fruit. A woman asks who will be sacrificed. Chen replies that those who fought the zombies cannot be chosen. One of them adds that they will obviously start with the newcomers. A little boy protests, asking why not start with the eldest. The crowd begins arguing to decide who should go first. The supervisor orders them to calm down and listen, declaring that since the blessing comes from the sacred tree, the first sacrifice must be of sinners, for that would be the fairest way. He explains that he himself will decide who is guilty, carefully evaluating everything. One of the men agrees immediately, saying that sinners must be sacrificed. Another woman also agrees, stating they will follow everything the supervisor says and that if he declares someone guilty, then that person will be guilty. At that moment, the protagonist raises his hand and questions how the 3 fruits will be divided after the sacrifice. The people pause and realize they hadn't considered that, since only 3 fruits would be distributed among the 30 or 40 people gathered under the tree. He asks how everyone can be sure they will receive one, and what the criteria for division will be. Chen replies that obviously those who contribute the most will have priority. Xi then asks how he measures those contributions and mocks him, asking if the supervisor intends to create a KPI chart where giving massages to a superior is worth 1 point, blindly obeying is worth 2, and anyone who challenges him is expelled from protection. Chen becomes furious and asks what he just said, claiming that every word he speaks carries the will of the sacred tree, and that Yuan dared contradict him. One of the boys orders him to show respect, demanding to know how he dares defy the representative of the tree. Yuan throws the question back, asking who would dare contradict him, recalling how the supervisor exploited workers like pack animals, cut bonuses for any excuse, stole credit for achievements, and blamed others for mistakes, and now stands there serving a monster and turning human lives into KPI scores, asking if he feels no shame. Chen explodes, saying he still has the nerve to speak like that and asking if he knows how many problems he caused by missing work for a few days, adding that he only asked him to work 18 hours of overtime, and even so he dared complain. He declares he wanted to fire him long ago and orders everyone to capture him to sacrifice him to the tree of human faces. The crowd agrees immediately, claiming he is offending the sacred tree and that if they let him live, they will all be doomed. Without the ginseng fruit, they will not survive, and ask if he still hasn't understood that. The protagonist asks about the fruit, tells them all to open their eyes, and questions whether they truly believe that is a ginseng fruit. He explains it is a demonic fruit created with the plasma, flesh, and soul of the sacrificed people, and that whoever eats it will not be fed, but turned into a puppet of the tree, becoming half human, half monster, just like the zombies. The people react, saying that is impossible, that the fruit is clearly sacred, asking what he is talking about. Xia then asks what is wrong with the supervisor's right hand and challenges him to show it to everyone. When Chen reveals the deformed hand, the people are shocked and ask whether eating that fruit truly turns them into monsters controlled by the tree. Chen replies that even if that is true, they will still be alive, and that in the middle of the apocalypse, staying alive is all that matters, besides having the protection of the sacred tree. His hand has already become a tree hand. Then Chen orders them to eliminate Yuan, saying that zombies have already surrounded the area. No one can escape, and if they do not obey, everyone will die. He promises that whoever eliminates him will receive a ginseng fruit. The people quickly move to attack the protagonist, while the supervisor says that he should feel honored for having been exploited at the company, because people like him deserve to be crushed by their superiors. Now he will become their dog. The protagonist declares that his journey has come to an end and unleashes intense flames against Chen, burning him alive. The supervisor screams that it's impossible until he is fully finished and hurled toward the tree. The tree smiles as the protagonist stands before it, facing it directly. A light appears in the tree's eyes and a voice calls Xia's name. It is a newly summoned flower, saying he cannot eliminate it. The protagonist is surprised, and Chen, now with a monstrous appearance, declares that he already said he was the representative of the tree of human faces, that both coexist and that he can live forever, while the protagonist is nothing but fertilizer. He charges forward again, but Xia unleashes flames, saying that in dry weather, fire makes him even more disgusting than the other monsters. The tree comments that humans are delicious. It begins pulling everyone in, and people ask why they angered the tree, saying all they had to do was sacrifice one person and eat the ginseng fruit. Yuan watches everything coldly as the tree drags them and devours them, describing them as delicious. 3 girls still alive state that the tree is clearly a monster and ask why no one dares insult the older brother. An injured woman says that even if it is a monster, resisting is pointless because no one can escape. The tree keeps repeating that they are delicious. The protagonist releases flames toward the tree to protect the survivors, breaking and burning branches. The woman, in agony, begs for help, asks him to cut the roots wrapped around her body, and demands that if he is so strong, why doesn't he save them? She tells him to move forward. She is taken by the tree and repeats that no one can escape, that only sacrifice allows survival, and that only the tree of human faces grants life, insisting that all must be finished along with it. Shia charges toward the zombies, burning them with his flames and knocking many down with a single strike. He summons his weapon, faces the creatures, and orders the survivors to run. They thank him, while those who are trapped in the roots fall into despair, saying it cannot be true that he eliminated all the zombies, and that if they had known earlier, soon after, those trapped are devoured. The tree looks at the protagonist and complains that he let so much food escape. The roots reach toward him. Shia meets its gaze and declares he will end it first. The tree smiles until the rain begins to fall. It tries to shield itself from the attacks, but the protagonist keeps advancing until he notices something strange and says, "That thing is extremely tough." The tree replies that it cannot defeat him directly, but it can wear him down, reminding him that he is human, with no food or water. The protagonist takes out a bottle and asks what it just said. Then Shia summons a feast and begins eating in front of the monster. The tree becomes irritated, and Yuan asks it to repeat that it wants to wear him down, questioning whether it doesn't know that his storage is larger than the tree's entire body. Su comments that this demonic tree has an absurdly long health bar, regenerates quickly, and even being just a soldier-class demon, is more troublesome than a warrior-class demon. Taking it down completely with a single strike would be difficult. Su then tells them to try a chicken leg, and if they don't want it, to settle for the chicken tail. The bear asks what the taste of that black tail is, and the protagonist declares that whoever figures out how to defeat the tree gets all the food on the table. DG says he will check and asks if the protagonist knows that lightning can bring down a tree, saying that if the Master of Thunder, Genzi, were willing to help, a simple tree like that would vanish in an instant. The bird responds by asking if they really want its help and tells them to forget it. A light emerges. It is the turtle, warning that the protagonist's sister is in danger. Xia widens his eyes upon sensing the dreadful pressure and claims that a demigod is approaching her. The turtle explains that Yamata no Orochi was summoned with malice and has already appeared near the girl, saying she fears for her because it is not a mere apparition. It is in a critical state and may arrive at any moment. Su, frightened, lets her chair fall to the ground. The bird insists that no matter what the protagonist says, it will never help him. Xia then opens its cell, saying there is no time for negotiations, reminding it that as lord of the great mortal prison, he governs that place, possesses summoning power, and, regarding the prisoners, also holds the right of execution. He approaches. The bird is completely paralyzed and only stares back at him, while the protagonist thinks that might be the day of its finalization. The trembling bird asks him to issue the decree. At the same moment, the tree says it did not expect the great Yamata no Orochi to descend earlier than predicted, but to a human who survived 1,000 years, a few more hours make no difference. A light crosses the sky and powerful attacks are unleashed by the bird. The protagonist stands on its shoulder and orders it to destroy the tree. The bird charges, unleashing all its power, and easily destroys it, generating massive pressure around. The tree is completely finished. Shia tells everyone to leave and they head elsewhere. Soon after, the chief arrives with her men, noting everything was annihilated and not even a trace of soul remained, praising the terrifying thunder. A man reports movement at Chunhua Hospital, and the chief laments the loss of that wood spirit, saying it would have been useful to her, ordering them to head to the hospital, and commenting someone managed to exterminate the monster before her, asking who could do that. At the zoo, the lion's area is open. The lion devours its prey until a terrifying presence approaches. Sensing it, the lion looks for a moment before being struck and finished with no chance to react. Plasma spreads as snakes advance everywhere, eliminating everything in heavy rain, slithering across the plasma while the creature watches smiling. The snakes surround the turtle's barrier. One flicks its tongue approaching, but its head is ripped off instantly. Others try again while the exhausted turtle forces her energy to protect. The creature comments it is strange someone so hard to defeat still exists in the underworld, and that if the turtle used water and clouds and abandoned her shell, she might escape alive. But now that she shrank into that corner, she is an easy target. The turtle replies she cannot afford to look incompetent, fearing the master will blame and punish her. The creature explains the underworld was sealed for 1,000 years, spiritual energy severed, cultivation impossible. Gods and great monsters beyond ordinary level were eliminated long ago by the 5 paths of the gods, asking how strong her master can be. The turtle answers she heard Yamata no Orochi was a servant of Susanu. The creature asks what difference that makes, and the turtle claims Susanu before her master would only be fit to carry his shoes. The attacks continue hard, causing huge impacts as the turtle uses all she has, coughing plasma from effort. Yuan stays hidden and the turtle says it must be him. A divine command must reach Susanu, so he personally intervenes, asking if the land of young Shia is truly that important to them. The creature comments it is no surprise since all gods of the five paths are so terrified they cannot sleep, and tells the Serpent Lord not to underestimate her master. The turtle unleashes waves of water and raises overwhelming energy. The Serpent Lord is surprised as an explosion consumes the area. Yuan covers her head and sees a huge mouth about to hit her, but the wounded turtle shields her, saying that finally, until a light appears and the Serpent Lord reappears. The turtle asks if that is all he has. The Serpent Lord asks how they dare harm him. The turtle, gasping, asks about the 7 heads and whether 7 lives remain, lamenting that even with her final soul-consuming attack, she couldn't sever more heads. The Serpent Lord charges, asking if the turtle still has strength to stop him, and the turtle replies, of course. She looks at the bird approaching and comments she has no energy left, but reinforcements have arrived. An attack strikes the snakes, launching the Serpent Lord far. He asks how that is possible and if the newcomer is the high-ranking general. The bird stares and asks if he is the worm from Japan, declaring herself reincarnation of the celestial Thunderstar disciple of Yu's 3rd generation, and that on that day, with Thunder's power, she will burn evil and purify the master himself, allowing him to be finished. The Serpent Lord begs to wait, but the bird without hesitation smites him with overwhelming power, calling him foreign god, trash, saying that's all he is. The protagonist warns there is still life below and heat is rising. He praises the turtle and tells her to enter the tower to recover. The turtle says Yamata no Orochi has 8 heads and 8 lives, doesn't fall easily, and no one can lower their guard. They watch as power releases, forming a vortex until a presence with red eyes appears and more snakes emerge. The bird retreats quickly but sees a huge mouth behind and angrily asks if he intends to devour her, declaring he is unworthy and unleashes power. The serpent opens its mouth and expels something toward the bird, who asks what that smoke is and if it is poison. She backs away, trying to escape, and asks the master what to do, but before he answers, the Serpent Lord laughs, mocking that he is called Master, despite being just an inferior human who learned a few superficial cultivation techniques and still dares compare himself to Susanu, who once defeated him, calling it ridiculous. Shia states that he doesn't seem convinced and asks if he wants to make a bet. The Serpent Lord demands how he dares to suggest that and if he is worthy of betting with him. The protagonist replies that if he and his comrades manage to defeat the Serpent Lord, then he will do the same he does with Susanu. He will recognize Yuan as his master and asks what he thinks. The Serpent Lord starts laughing, asking if a mere human from young Shia with nothing extraordinary truly believes he can subjugate him, the great Yamata no Orochi, and if he understands how absurd that sounds, saying he has angered him and will now make him experience the worst pain in this world, though he will not allow him to die. The protagonist smiles and says that since he didn't refuse the bet, it will be taken as a yes. The Serpent Lord says he wants to see how that bird of general rank, who cannot even face him properly, plans to defeat him, and that no one will escape. Shia comments that snakes possess intelligence, explaining that the enemy is split into 5, that 4 heads surround him above as a distraction, and that the largest is hidden, preparing the strongest attack, ordering him to stop hiding because the tail betrays him. The Serpent Lord asks how that is possible and if the protagonist is trying to deceive him. Yuan asks who is deceiving whom and tells him not to look behind since another of his comrades is right there. The Serpent Lord says this is absurd and that for a moment he nearly believed it, saying that gods and high-ranking demons were eliminated 1,000 years ago and that the bird is only there by coincidence. He claims that even Susanu cannot pierce his poisonous mist and asks how a mere human could see his position, saying it must be coincidence, and calling humans despicable for trying mental tricks, declaring that very well, he will send the protagonist to the other world immediately. The bear pats the serpent's head and comments that his body is not in prime condition, asking the warden if he could give him a bit of it since snake bile is an excellent tonic. Elsewhere, people run from zombies. A child's hand begins to change and she asks her mother what is happening to her body. The woman replies that the rain is poisonous, but everything will be fine, and that she is there with her daughter, begging the gods of heaven and the ancestors for help, until everyone stops. The bear fights the serpent, the two exchanging blows, and the Serpent Lord wonders if that bear is also high-ranked, asking why the protagonist has 2 entities of that level at his side. He thinks that if he reflects well, even the turtle was 1 step away from general rank, and notices how many powerful beings are gathered around that human, questioning what on earth he really is. The protagonist answers, telling him to guess. The Serpent Lord thinks that the protagonist hides a great secret and must report it immediately, but before he can, a light explodes and the bird charges forward to attack him. The snakes release powers from their mouths, lightning tears the air, and the bear keeps crushing snakes with his bare hand, saying it is bold of them to even try biting him. Everything around is in ruins. The Serpent Lord stands still and then comments that his bones and muscles are injured, The situation is urgent and he must prioritize transmitting the information. At that moment, he notices Yuan hiding and says that the devoured energy of resentment will guide him to her in seconds, promising to act swiftly. He advances, but someone appears in front of him, the protagonist, asking where he thinks he is going. The Serpent Lord demands how he got there and how he knew, and Shia replies that of course he knew, because he clearly saw that after attacking Genzi, one of the heads went into hiding and fled secretly. He says that those 6 heads would already be a generous reward, but instead of fleeing, the monster still had the audacity to go after Yuan. The protagonist declares that he has already chosen the path of finalization, but the Serpent Lord laughs and asks if he truly believes that, saying he underestimated him. He explains that only one of his heads is here, and that the protagonist is just an insignificant cultivator unable to defeat him. Since they call him Warden, he says that by devouring him, he will solve the issue of the other 6 heads and also deal with the girl behind him. Shia unleashes intense flames, causing a massive explosion, but the Serpent Lord dodges. Yuan raises his hand believing he struck him, until the Serpent Lord bites his arm saying he has caught him. However, the protagonist pulls his arm from his mouth effortlessly, grabs his sword, and the Serpent Lord is shocked, asking if he truly possesses that much strength. Meanwhile, the bear fights by crushing snakes barehanded, and comments how incredible that is. On the other side, the bird, wounded in the chest, touches her injury and says the plasma has stopped, stating she will continue and hoping that the last head is tougher. The Serpent Lord thinks that only 4 lives remain now and that he must end everything quickly. He recognizes that the human has a constant flow of energy and a tenacious body, and he cannot allow the fight to drag on. He declares that the truth is simple. The weak point of humans is the soul. The Serpent Lord turns into soul form and invades the protagonist's consciousness, finding it far too easy, saying he entered without resistance, and that after all the boy was born only a few decades ago, while he is a demigod thousands of years old. So the protagonist's spiritual barrier is as fragile as paper. He decides to rummage through his memories to discover where the general rank demons came from, how he obtained his powers, planning to turn him into his personal puppet. But soon he wonders why there is a tower of consciousness. The Serpent Lord begins to scream in pain as the light weakens. He smiles when he notices a hole at the base of the tower, saying he will enter it. Upon doing so, he believes he has finally survived, and comments that the tribulation lightning struck him twice and destroyed much of his soul. He asks where he is, and whether he truly entered the tower, complaining about the darkness. A presence approaches. The Serpent Lord senses countless eyes fixed on him and panics, unable to understand why. He, the great serpent Yamata no Orochi, a demigod at the peak of the general ranking, remembers that not even Susanu ever made him feel such fear, and wonders if those eyes are even more powerful than Susanu's, speculating whether they could be gods sealed inside the tower, but claims that is impossible. The Serpent Lord opens his eyes wide as a terrible sound echoes and lights erupt. Outside, the snakes collapse defeated, emitting shrill cries, and the Serpent Lord falls to the ground asking what that was, saying that he saw it and forgot. He completely forgot what it was. The protagonist feels disgust and comments that just a moment ago that cursed serpent looked at him strangely and dove straight into his consciousness, crashing into the tower. The bear says he can't imagine what happened, and the bird states that the intelligence of those outer gods is truly pathetic. Heaven offered a way out, but he chose hell. Sue remarks that it happened on the 4th level and that not even she has ever been there, asking what happened when all the Impriso gods witnessed it at the same time, saying the result was so insane that plasma splattered across the ground. The protagonist feels something, looks to the side and stares at the moon, until a single eye opens fully. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a mother is with her daughter, and the child asks her to look at the moon, which is no longer there. Everyone looks on, shocked, as an intense light appears and colossal pressure spreads. The turtle whispers, "Susanu," while the Serpent Lord claims there is a great secret. The bird orders them to stop immediately and kneels on the ground as the enormous eye hovers above them. The bear asks if they are going to just stand there and do nothing, saying that thing is about to be rescued. Sue replies that of course not. Flames erupt and the protagonist grabs the Serpent Lord and hurls him away. The snakes fall into a cage, utterly confused. Shia pushes them into the tower, saying it's nothing much and already handled. The bear praises the Warden, and Sue states that with the power of the great prison of evil, blocking the gaze of a commander-rank god is simple. The pressure suddenly intensifies and a presence descends. Yuan watches, looks upward, and the eye asks how they dared deceive him. Something approaches with deafening impacts. A light pierces the tower, and the protagonist feels his spiritual energy being completely drained. He orders everyone to fall back. One of them says the situation is critical and they must think of something quickly. Shia recalls that in his past life before reincarnation, The strongest ones he saw descend were only a few general-rank demigods. Midnight was the exact time Yamata no Orochi was meant to appear, but since Song summoned him early, it affected Susanu, whose arrival should have been delayed indefinitely, causing him to lose control and attempt to break the dimensional barrier. Now the entire balance is destroyed. Terrifying gods who were supposed to descend one by one may fall prematurely. He wonders what he must do. The turtle says that, according to fate, humanity would have had time to awaken abilities and evolve until they could face the gods. But everything has been sped up. If the barrier is destroyed and the general rank gods are freed, the nation of young Shia will notice it. The protagonist's eyes widen as a colossal mouth opens and releases an overwhelming power that strikes Yuan, flinging her away. She spits plasma and comments on her ears. Yuan activates her technique to seal hearing, throat, and heart, saying that her brother took the full impact of the sonic wave and asking how he is. She looks outside, sees something, and freezes. Her brother is pinned against the wall. Yuan begins to cry, calling out to him. Elsewhere, people cover their ears in desperation, asking what that thing is, saying that not even the moon remains, and that the apocalypse has arrived. There is no hope. A barrier breaks and a woman looks through the window, saying that if she had known this would happen, she would have ordered another portion of pork belly the night before, and now she can't even eat. Flower petals fall as explosions erupt across the city. The little girl is in her mother's arms, kneeling on the ground. At the zoo, someone sits as petals fall and there is an emblem beside them. The creature notices the object, comments on it, and holds the emblem. Voices say that gods are cunning, but it's a shame they saw through the deception. The creature says Xia is trash and asks if they will continue to be humiliated by him. A trembling hand rises and shows the middle finger. It is the protagonist who curses the monster and retrieves his object, which releases a powerful light. Someone appears within the brightness. Long hair, strange clothing. And the creature says that this is impossible, telling them to retreat immediately. But the protagonist, now transformed in appearance, says that it's already too late. A weapon appears and Xia mentions the sunset bow, saying that Hu Yi used it to shoot down the 9 suns and end the monsters that tormented people like Yayu, Feng, Xu, and Zhao. The creature screams and Yuan says that next time he enters someone's home, he should be more polite. The creature grits its teeth and says that not even in his dreams will he stop being a god. The arrow is released and strikes the monster's eye. The protagonist asks about a god and says he has already eliminated many, that one is the weakest of all. There is no more discussion, and now he can be finished in peace. Xia hits his face with flames, creating a devastating impact. The god says he is still alive, repeating several times that he is alive and claiming that behind him lies the barrier of the world, asking if the protagonist is capable of crossing it to eliminate him. Yuan appears before him fully embodied and summons his sword. The god feels the pressure and asks if that is the Hyoshin's sword, saying that then he is the human emperor of Yangxia, the one who tens of millions of years ago led the gods of Yangxia in a bloody war against them, the gods of the 5 paths. In the end, they completely sealed him in the outer realm of the 9 heavens and raised the barrier to protect all living beings of the world, warning that on the day the barrier breaks, his moment of finalization would also come. The protagonist raises the sword and swings it, finishing the god once and for all. An explosion spreads, the smoke clears, and people stare in disbelief as it begins to rain. Only then do they realize the rain is blue plasma and ask if that enormous god truly lost his life. Everyone looks at the sky, frightened. Elsewhere, a woman regains consciousness on the ground and searches for her daughter, who is no longer there. The child stands before several zombies, drinking the blue plasma. The mother asks if it is her, and the girl replies that she is fine, telling them to leave that to her, saying she is hungry. Her appearance becomes frightening as she begins devouring the zombies without hesitation. On the other side, a blonde young man fights the creatures and asks why his ability has become so much stronger, saying his wounds healed completely and that it even feels like the heavens are helping him. He charges forward excitedly, saying that when he, Hao Ge, ruled the city of Kowloon, zombies this small didn't even exist, so they can all come at once. A voice says that this is a miracle. They look up to the sky and comment that it is split. The protagonist, flying, says he didn't expect to open such a huge hole, but that it's fine, and tells the gods of the 5 paths to listen. He doesn't care what they do elsewhere, but it was he who built the world barrier on the land of Yangxia with great effort, so they must not dare continue to destroy it aggressively and must wait patiently for it to fade away on its own, and whoever disobeys, it will be annihilated immediately. And comments that if there are small demons capable of crossing the barrier without damaging it, they are welcome as guests and may enter whenever they wish, saying it is even better that way. A blinding light covers everything. The warrior says they really destroyed it all and that it is a nuisance. Around Yuan, the energy expands and the sky begins to close as the pressure lessens. The warrior watches, saying there are not enough celestial repair stones, staring at the sky disappearing along with that strange light and commenting that the dawn remains so beautiful, he will never tire of looking at the human world. In the beast realm, inside the pavilion, he states that he fulfilled the agreement and cut off Susanu's head, but admits he spent far more energy than expected and fears that those enraged evil gods might come and destroy that fragile protection, because if they attack in full force, everything there would be wiped out. The protagonist approaches, saying that cowardice before overwhelming power is part of human nature, so he imagines deities are not so different. And with that display, gods of commander rank or above would not dare peak for a while, since they have Susanu as an example, and the stronger they are, the more they cling to life. The warrior says that is what they call killing the rooster to scare the monkey, comments that he is interesting and recalls that in the moment of desperation when he took over his body, instead of feeling fear, he started giving orders, asking how he was so sure he would be helped. Shia answers that in the great mortal prison there are demonic creatures and sealed gods, that on the first floor he saw general-level monsters and that the tower has 5 floors, so there should be even more powerful gods guarding everything, and that he does not understand why they cannot be freed. But he gambled on the idea that inside, there is a force capable of suppressing them all and that Susanu would never dominate that place. The warrior laughs, saying he was right, that they would never let that prison fall into the hands of those wretches, and that if he had more than that soul fragment, he would break the world barrier and exterminate them, making everyone beg. He admits having many doubts, calls those broken memories fragmented remnants, and asks for them to be analyzed when there is time, because his soul has already been completely erased, and from then on, everything would depend on Yuan. They stare at each other, shake hands, and the warrior begins to fade until vanishing completely, while the protagonist watches before collapsing unconscious. Yuan runs to him and the emblem falls beside him, releasing smoke. In the chaos outside, a voice states that Susanu is truly finished, says that 3,000 years have passed, yet Xiaoyan is still easily controlled, and that they could not even seal him beyond the world barrier, calling it humiliation, and saying they must advance together to devour the prey. The Yangxia barrier is about to collapse and he will not endure much longer, and they admit the price to surround and destroy him is high, so it would be better to descend their domains, rule the masses, and absorb power. They say Yangxia is protecting the territory and cannot reach their domains, so the stronger human power is within its own territory, the wider the barrier's coverage, and they ordered the expansion of the domain, declaring that Yangxia's lands will be divided among them. Lights appear and violent pressures spread along with flames. A reporter states in the news that an enormous number of humans turned into monsters and an apocalypse began, with hordes of zombies attacking and killing about 10 million people in 2 days in Los Angeles. Monsters appeared in North Africa, and faith became the last resort as people begged the gods to save the world. The Saudi region became a sea of fire. Nations lost communication, and the kingdom became isolated. In Emerald City, a rain of divine plasma turned many humans into ability users, creating several factions, including the Jackal Gang, led by Chen Gu, and known for its brutality as it sweeps through the city hunting anyone who refuses to join them. Elsewhere, 2 people face a group of young men, strike first and launch some away, and the blonde one jumps, saying they are the ones who will lose their lives. The boy with the monstrous hand advances, attacking, while the girl, injured on the ground, watches the enemy take her bag and ask if they really think they can escape the clutches of Chief Go. The boy approaches, saying that the East District has been cleared and almost all humans have been massacred, asking if the plan is to let the strong team develop while eliminating Wan Hao's team in the West. The chief replies that Wan Hao is nothing but a brute, and that by gathering ability users and supplies for themselves, they can simply relax and reap the benefits. The boys agree, saying they are right because those people have what they value most, the important resources, the Benkong pills, asking when the boss will distribute the medicine, and claiming that with that miraculous drug, humanity can search for critical resources without fearing infections and mutations. The boss laughs, saying that whoever has the Shangxing pills has a future and does not need to worry as long as they obey him, and that there will be no restrictions for the last powerful ability users of Emerald, something the entire kingdom should understand. They agree, saying they work to the end for him and that he is incredible, and one of the boys says he found a small fortress in the suburbs. The bald man comments that by eliminating people and looting supplies, he may be bothering the boss with trivial details, but the boy assures him that no one who enters that place comes back. The group rides motorcycles to the location and stops in front of the building. The boss asks if that is the place, and the boy confirms, saying the house is strange, almost as if it devours people since no one who entered ever left, and he can still hear screams coming from inside, something terrifying. The boss asks if, in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, he still wants to enter a haunted place, reinforcing who he is, and giving them 5 minutes to gather all supplies. If they want to join the gang, their past can be left behind, but if they fail to seize the opportunity, he will not be responsible for what comes next. Inside the house, Yuan notices many are arriving, and Bai says a fight is inevitable, both looking at the protagonist unconscious on the bed and wondering when he will wake up. The teacher orders them to stay there, guarding to avoid surprise attacks, and says she will go down to fight. Yuan asks her to be careful, and Bai says there is nothing to worry about because she is stronger now, remembering she defeated all those guys before, and that no matter what happens, she must endure until her brother wakes up because he saved her life and is in a critical state. Yuan promises she will stay and protect him even if it costs her life. Bai opens the door and goes down the stairs, thinking about what really happened that day, remembering the group of ability users that appeared and saved her. Then the heavy rain fell and her ability evolved to the second level, allowing her, with her vanishing technique, to eliminate a monster and steal its essential soul. When Shia impacted the ground with his essence, a mysterious vibration spread everywhere, and feeling that, she immediately returned to find him, and since then remained by his side, protecting Yuan and his sister. In this apocalypse, where everyone only thinks about surviving, the only ones she can trust are the two of them, and she will not let anyone harm them. Outside, the boss comments she chose the hardest path and orders his men to surround the place, announcing they will tear the house down. Bai grips a staff and watches as the men advance. One of them uses his ability inside the house but finds no one until he is struck and falls to the ground. Others keep advancing while the teacher uses her invisibility. The men retreat upon seeing their partner on the floor, and the bald man warns them to be careful because someone is launching surprise attacks. The man beside him, irritated, says there are many of them and asks why they should be afraid, ordering the attacker to appear and threatening to kill and devour her until Bai strikes him directly in the neck. Everyone is shocked to see she is a woman. They try to attack her, but the teacher vanishes again with her power, confusing them, and the bald man says he will handle it personally. He lights a cigarette and releases thick smoke, explaining that the poisonous vapor is designed especially for women, and as soon as they inhale it, they will be immediately paralyzed. After inhaling the smoke, the men say the woman must be finished and order them to find her quickly. Bai, covering her nose, goes out determined to eliminate the leader first. The teacher, still invisible, advances behind the boss, but the moment she tries to strike him, Bai is thrown far away, and the boss says she's too bold, asking if she did not know he carries a protective treasure. The teacher loses her invisibility and the boss charges, stabbing her with the dagger and saying that since she has appeared, she should not even think about escaping. The others wonder when she got out and what kind of ability that is, asking for calm. Then the bald man shouts that there is someone upstairs, apparently another woman, and says they will go get her, while the men comment that this will be fun. Bai lies on the ground with the dagger in her shoulder, thinking of the two, and Yuan watches through the window, terrified, until the men invade the room. Yuan orders them to stay away. The bald man says she is cute, and Yuan trembles, completely frightened. A red-haired man appears behind her with a weapon, saying he cannot wait, and they all notice someone lying on the bed, commenting that he looks almost finished, probably useless. Yuan insists they must not come any closer and must not dare harm her brother. The bald man laughs, telling her not to worry because they will not hurt the brother. They will hurt her right in front of him. Outside, Bai activates her invisibility, calling the leader a bastard, but the boss pushes the dagger even deeper into her shoulder and says that since she is trying to use her ability, he will keep her in that state so she cannot accumulate mental energy. He says that is the proper way to deal with stealthy thieves like her who come and vanish without a trace. He comments that the man in the bed wants to protect her and says that afterwards he will have someone cut off each of his limbs, turning him into a human stump to feed dogs. Even so, he praises her ability and offers her a chance. If she joins him, he will leave her alone. He begins a countdown for her to decide. Meanwhile, Yuan is surrounded by men licking their lips as they stare at her. The protagonist remains motionless on the bed until an energy moves toward him and enters the beast prison, making Xia glow. Su says it is truly him and that this would explain everything, thinking they are trapped there because of him. A voice promises revenge, and Daji comments that many great demons committed grave crimes, but others were thrown into the suppressing tower for minor offenses, and asks how they could accept such fate. She says that now that Yang Xia has appeared and the external gods are approaching, even a fool understands what is happening. The suppressing tower is the seed left by Yang Xia and the ancient gods of the 9 provinces to confront the external gods, a secret weapon prepared tens of millions of years ago, and the great demons and sinful gods are the backup plan kept hidden. The pressure increases around them, and the turtle asks if everything is going to collapse, saying not everyone can accept the truth because the divine plan used myriad demons as sacrifice, and it will only get worse. The energies intensify, and Sue asks if the master of the prison will not wake up yet. A voice continues the countdown, and Daji asks if they heard that, stating something outside has gone wrong. Everyone is suppressed by an enormous power, and they cannot leave the tower to face the enemy, asking not to blame them when the moment comes. Lights and violent powers appear along with enraged beasts. The light around the protagonist weakens as the countdown reaches 2. Then Xia awakens and moves forward as the count reaches 1. The boss orders them to capture him, and the men attack Yuan and Yun together until an explosion erupts, causing a massive impact. The protagonist jumps onto the roof of the house engulfed in flames, and the boss asks what is happening. Bai smiles, saying he finally woke up. The boss asks who woke up, and on the rooftop, Xia appears beside his sister, saying he is the one who will take his life. The boss demands to know who he is and orders him not to come closer, threatening to eliminate him. Yuan extends his hand and moves it through the air, striking the boss without approaching. And then the protagonist closes his fingers, breaking a piece of the bell and causing scorching flames to rise across the boss's body as he is burned alive. The men run, asking what happened to him and who that person is, surrounding Xia and his sister, but Yuan complains about the noise. The protagonist then charges forward, releasing an absurd amount of flames and incinerating everyone at once, leaving the rest shocked to see someone so strong. Some try to flee, and a blonde boy celebrates thinking he escaped, until he begins to burn alive as well. Shia realizes that after facing Susanu's avatar, he managed to absorb the essence of that creature, imprinting its mechanics and power within his own ability, while everything collapsed around him. He understands that his skill evolved to level 5, and that against level 1 and 2 users he had already surpassed level 6. His mind became sharper, his control more precise, and his destructive power even greater. Amid the flames, someone completely charred insists it is not over, revealing himself to be the boss, who tries to talk about his treasure but has his hand cut off by Bai holding a dagger, saying he is the one who caused all this and asking if that item was really what blocked so many fatal blows. Yun appears and uses her healing ability, explaining that Bai is severely injured and she will treat her, while Bai thanks her, saying he finally awakened. The protagonist asks how long he was unconscious, and the teacher explains that since the battle against that causality monster, he remained in a coma for 7 days and 7 nights, and that during this period, many things changed, as people with abilities began to appear. A leader named Kan gathered users who have access to the Shangxing pills, and everything indicates he is not acting alone because someone bigger is behind him, organizing something enormous. Xia understands and says he will need to ask the right person for some clarifications. The boss, still alive, orders them to finish him if they have the guts and asks who the hell he thinks he is, saying his ability is only slightly stronger than his own and that the family's leader will never let him escape. Bai asks what family that is, but the boss laughs, saying it is a joke to think he would tell, declaring that even if he dies, he will never reveal it. Sue appears laughing with a killing intent. A boom echoes, and elsewhere DG comments that he has already confessed everything. The power behind Chenggu comes from the Yuan family, as well as the support given to the Song family, but the Yuan clan is enormous and far stronger. Yan explains that they discovered something in Emerald City days before the apocalypse and therefore began hoarding pills, raising the suspicion that they might have foreseen the apocalypse. The Yuan family gathered all their strength and is about to dominate the city in only 3 days. And Sue mentions that according to Gu, they possess countless magical treasures, including the ancestral bronze bell the boss carried. Yan adds that within 7 days they gathered mysterious pills and countless treasures. Sue says he found another important piece of information, something hard to believe because it seems an ancestral god even appeared. The protagonist wonders how such power could have come from ore while an ancestral god emerged, remembering that the Vein's first level ability can raise any skill's level, and that since young Shia destroyed Susanu, the external gods have not dared attack again, leaving the soul force flow without reinforcement. He concludes it is time to travel to Black Obsidian City. Elsewhere in the city, people bang desperately on the gate begging for shelter from the zombies, until one of the survivors is shot in the head, and the soldier demands silence, saying only those who hand over Shangqing pills or zombie crystal cores may enter the Yuan family shelter. They explain they are just ordinary people with no abilities and cannot obtain anything so rare, but they are ignored when the soldier states that ordinary folks only waste food and mean nothing to the Yuan family. At that moment, they notice zombies approaching, and everyone begins crying and pounding on the gate for help. While the soldier comments that when the zombies finish devouring that trash and level up, the crystal cores will be even more valuable. The people are attacked by the zombies as the guards watch smiling, remarking that the zombie is about to level up, and the partner mentions it used to be level 3 and asks if at level 4 they can still defeat it. The soldier asks what there is to fear and claims that this is UN family territory, where countless experts, ancient ancestors, and even another being, far more feared, dwell, and anyone who identifies a level 4 zombie already earns merit. His partner agrees, saying it makes sense and that it is nothing more than military merit with a Shangqing pill as reward, until someone approaches on a motorcycle running over the zombies, and the protagonist drives straight over the larger zombie, leaving the soldier stunned. The big zombie grabs the motorcycle and smashes it to the ground, and Xia leaps forward with scorching flames striking the monster until he summons his sword and attacks, causing an explosion. The zombie burns until collapsing, and the smaller ones rush in as the protagonist complains about the annoyance and launches swords that pierce the monsters, burning everything around while some survivors duck, asking if they are finally safe and who that powerful man is. Xia then notices a level 4 crystal coming out of the zombie's body. At that moment, a group approaches saying it is not bad at all and asking if he is the new team member, commenting that taking down a level 4 zombie alone is not something anyone can do, and that they will praise his performance since he hit the monster exactly when it leveled up, making the hunt very profitable. Yuan warns them not to touch the core, and the soldier asks what he means, while his partner says he checked and noticed the protagonist is not one of them, not part of the team, and besides, there are many fire ability users in the UN family. The soldier asks if someone from outside has been killing their zombies and if he is trying to steal the kill, and the protagonist asks since when those zombies belong to anyone. The soldier replies that of course they do, since they created that low-level zombie themselves, and asks if the protagonist has any idea how many human lives had to be cut short for it, suggesting he hand over the crystal core and leave if he wants to survive. Shia asks what if he refuses, and the soldier fires back wanting to know if he is from that region, and if he does not know the UN family dominates abilities, with the young master already at level 4 and backed by a foundation he cannot even imagine. He claims that in this apocalypse, the Yuan family is humanity's last bastion and the ladder to superior evolution, and that countless experts travel from afar just for the chance to join them. So if the protagonist insists, he will die right there. Yuan grabs him by the neck and asks if that is really so, saying he would love to find out and that if he killed him right in front of the Yuan family's gates, he wanted to see whether anyone would come save him. The soldier tries to deny it as the others begin shooting and order Yuan to let him go. The flames intensify while the protagonist squeezes with overwhelming force, and the soldiers comment that the fire is so powerful the captain cannot withstand it, saying it burns even the consciousness and absorbs every attack. They fire, but the bullets melt in the air, leaving everyone shocked at the absurd heat. Xia asks the captain whose core he thinks it is, and the captain admits he was wrong. A female voice appears saying crystal cores or Shangqing pills have always belonged to the strongest and asks whether she is wrong, and the soldiers recognize her as the third miss, begging her to save the captain, claiming that domineering outsider is stealing treasures in the heart of Yuan territory. One of them is struck by a whip as she calls them all trash, saying many of them cannot even defeat an outsider, and that the Yuan family wastes food feeding those dogs. The soldiers admit they did not expect the protagonist to be so strong, while the third miss observes the intense flames, praises his handsome face and says his eyes are cold and his style is bold. The captain begs her to save him, but is struck in the face as she calls him useless and orders him not to interrupt while she looks at such a handsome man. Xia hits all the remaining soldiers and asks who she is, and the third miss responds that her name is Ying, ranked third among the Yuan family's young generation, allowing him to call her third miss or simply Yinger, and invites him inside for tea and a calm conversation. The protagonist warns that his flames do not distinguish between allies and enemies and suggests she keep her distance, but Ying asks him not to be so hostile and to come closer. The gate opens and some confused soldiers wonder if Brother Qiang died for nothing, and upon entering, Xia notices all guards are on high alert, and Ying explains that in this apocalypse monsters are only half the danger, because human hearts are treacherous too, so no one overreacts by staying vigilant. Inside the pavilion, she offers tea, and Yuan asks if the Yuan family knew of the apocalypse beforehand, and Ying says that is just one among many tools and asks him to state his name. The protagonist questions whether she is trying to recruit him, and the third miss confirms, saying he is strong, efficient, and definitely needs more resources, something the Yuan family can provide without limit. Xia comments that he fears she will regret giving so much, and Ying replies that the Yuan family's resources are far too deep for regret and that those Shangqing pills are something she distributes without thinking. Yuan mentally recalls what he stores, while Ying continues saying they also offer crystal cores according to each ability user's merit and that he could be classified as level 4. If he joins them, he can become a captain immediately and command 5 level 3 ability users under him. The protagonist thinks about his own beasts, and Ying emphasizes that the most important thing is the abundance of food and water, and that by joining the Yuan family he could even eat instant noodles and drink clean water every day. Xia imagines millions in supplies, cattle, and land, while Ying assures that as long as he agrees to accumulate contributions, he will have infinite resources, clothing, level-ups, and even her company at his side, and asks how happy that would make him. Yuan tries to answer, but Ying draws her whip and warns that if he's thinking of refusing her, she will turn him into a specimen and keep him in her closet, promising to make good use of his body because she likes him, and asks whether he noticed he cannot move. She explains that the tea was mixed with poison, specific to ability users, and that a man as strong as him needed a welcome worthy of him, and demands an answer. A call interrupts the scene, and Ying complains, saying not again, while a soldier reports that the young master summons her immediately. She tells Yuan to think carefully and says she wants a satisfactory answer when she returns, ordering the guards to stay alert because if he tries anything, he must be eliminated on the spot. The door closes and Su comments that he was lucky that disgusting woman took advantage of him first, since she has not even tasted him yet, and the bear agrees, saying he is available too. The protagonist stands up and tells the bear to shut up, surprising him, and he asks if the poison did not affect him. DG strikes the bear, calling him an idiot, and says the master of the prison would never have drunk that tea, and the bear tastes it and feels the strong venom, as Su thinks he is a hopeless case. Inside the prison, Xia asks about his sister's situation, and the turtle assures him that with her the girl is completely safe and is now working with the teacher on something special, promising a great surprise when he returns to Emerald City. Yuan comments that the girl is starting to form ideas of her own, and the snake says it is hungry while the turtle claims it is not, and thanks the master for granting her soul, explaining she is refining her own living soul and that when the time comes, by joining turtle and snake into one body, she will form a Xuanwu and ascend to martial rank, and the protagonist considers this excellent. Ever since awakening, Xia notices that a new staircase has appeared on the first floor of the fierce prison, a sign that the second floor has been illuminated and new cells can now be opened. He remembers that the first-level beasts were already insanely strong, and wonders what kind of formidable monsters and sinful gods are sealed on the second floor, deciding to check immediately. As he descends, he observes the area carefully and comments that this is the second floor of demon suppression, until he hears a laugh announcing he has finally matured enough to stand before someone who has waited for him for so long. A voice inside a cage summons him to bow and says it will dictate 3 decrees, but Xia widens his eyes upon seeing a tiny, chubby child and asks if that kid is really the powerhouse of the second floor, wanting to know if he is some kind of ginseng doll. The little one snaps back, saying he must be blind, and tells him to look at his aura, garments, and flames. And Xia asks if he is a gourd. The chubby child becomes enraged and introduces himself as the great sacred child king of the fire cloud, the legendary Red Boy, while Xia calls him Holy Brat and remarks that he is indeed the brat famous for that title, irritating the creature even more. The child then transforms into a gigantic demon, proclaiming he will massacre every living thing, burn the entire world and silence all existence, erasing Buddhas, immortals, and the very notion of being. The energy he unleashes fills the entire prison, but lightning immediately crashes down on him, and the demon roars for it to strike harder, claiming to be the eternal king impossible to finish off until more lightning violently hits him and forces him back into child form. Xia comments that this is exactly what one expects from the second floor of that hellish prison, and that the first prisoner was already shouting about destroying the world, so imprisoning him was no mistake, and he realizes that his own soul force has reached stage 6 and can still grow. He keeps walking as laughter echoes through the shadows and a devastating energy creates suffocating pressure, making Yuan unleash flames as he remembers that everyone there had once been masters and were imprisoned for countless years, and that even maddened by the chance to escape, they should not have corrupted themselves. Su bows, saying he pays respect to the Guardian, and Xia orders that on that second floor, anyone who calms down first and is willing to talk should call out to him, and otherwise, the lightning will continue until they learn, and DG acknowledges the order. Red Boy grumbles that Xia is just a lucky brat for inheriting the Yangxia lineage, and asks why he should bow, while Su urges everyone to speak carefully and not underestimate the Warden, reminding them that serving sincerely is the only way to stay alive. For losing face is tolerable, but losing one's head is not. In the UN family hall, the patriarch states that thanks to their ancestors, they have been the premier family for centuries and survived the apocalypse by stockpiling resources under ancestral guidance. However, the promise made by them has not yet been fulfilled, and the ancestral wrath draws near again, and he asks who has a plan. A young man answers that the ancestors demanded 3 conditions: 100 boys and 100 girls, 10 level 3 ability users and 3 level 4 ability users, as well as digging into the spiritual vein until finding the golden coffin. They already sacrificed 100 pairs of children and gathered 10 level 3 users, but now the ancestors demand 1 more level 4 as an offering, and reaching level 4 costs a tide of resources. Even with the entire foundation of the UN family, they only have 5 users of that level, and sacrificing one would bring immediate relief. A woman agrees, saying the stored water is saturated with power and can raise abilities, but it is so contaminated it turns anyone who drinks too much into a bestial corpse. Another man comments that even sitting atop a mountain of treasures, they are powerless. Regarding the golden chalice, they explain it is deep within the mine where contamination is brutal, and demons have taken everything, and any incursion costs lives. Dozens have already died, but they were only outsiders seeking refuge, and to them it is no great loss. The elders affirm that even if the ancient ancestors attempt to act against them, they will still grant a bit of time, and someone must take on this task to gain a few more moments. And, if necessary, they will sacrifice a level 4 to appease the ancestral fury. The old woman asks where they would find someone that strong, and whether they truly intend to offer one of their own users, because if they do that, they will have no way to survive the apocalypse. Ying interrupts, saying that if the problem is finding a level 4 individual, she knows one very well, and the patriarch wants to know how she learned of him. The third miss answers it was coincidence since she intended to turn him into her personal toy, but because the ancestor is furious, she will have to give him up, and the patriarch considers it excellent, though he warns that because he is of the fire type, he may cause havoc if not bound during the ritual. He orders Sheng to accompany her and bring the offering to the altar, and both, as mid-level 4 users, accept the mission. The old woman celebrates, saying that this time the ancestral wrath will be calmed, and the man beside her says they must continue sending offerings until the sacrifice satisfies the ancestors, and the patriarch assures that with this, the UN family will rise above all others. In another chamber, the protagonist sits watching the energy ahead and concludes that only the UN fortress could contain such a dense source of power, probably the ancient core mentioned, and that the living flame must be the ancestor referred to. The bear says he heard everything and that they plan to sacrifice him, and Su comments that his wind manipulation skill is good for spying, but what matters now is real support. And the true enemy is approaching, suggesting they enter the game pretending weakness before striking. Shia states that was exactly what he intended. Su vanishes as the third miss enters, asking what his decision is, and Yuan answers that he chose to join her, but because he was poisoned, he does not trust her. So if she wants him to believe her, she must give something first. Otherwise, he will authorize evacuation of the area and take half the fortress with him. Ying tells him not to get upset, says the family is generous, and shows him an ore, and the protagonist asks if it is mineral ability, and she says he may choose 3 users of whatever level he wants to prove her sincerity. Shia takes the ore and considers it acceptable, while Ying thinks he has no idea the ritual will require far more power, and that the sacrifice will be worse than he imagines. But thanks to the purifier, that minor pollution means nothing. The ore shines, releasing intense pressure, and Yuan feels his ability power increasing, imagining that if the entire mine is like this, it must be overflowing with energy. The third miss smiles, thinking outsiders understand nothing, and a few stones already buy loyalty, and she says he has decided to join the Yuan family within the ritual in the ancestral hall, and that he must honor the family, for the head will be satisfied, and once it is over, she will release the control and hand over the antidote. The protagonist warns her not to try tricks. Sheng orders them to move, and Ying instructs him to follow. They advance into a dark, enclosed area where a voice says that the sacred land of the Yuan family is anything but ordinary and orders them to bring the offering at once. The guards shiver, saying they heard the 3,000 temple warriors kneel before the ancestors, until they see the young master and the third miss bringing the sacrifice. Xia asks if that shaking is an earthquake about to collapse the place, and wants to know where the ancestral sanctuary is because it looks more like an improvised mine. And Ying responds that since it belongs to the family, it is obviously not ordinary, and tells him to look more closely. Yuan notices it is a rare type of ore, even if its purity is low, and asks if the entire cave is filled with it, and Ying says, "This is the depth of the Yuan, their true inheritance," and the protagonist finds it impressive. He then raises the essential question, asking whether she really brought him alive all the way there without fearing he might disappear afterward without leaving a trace. And Sheng laughs, asking if he intends to rob the Yuan family, saying they will have glorious memories in both their futures, while Ying says that when they pay respects to the ancestors, they also will have glorious memories of their two futures. Shia concludes that indeed the Yuan family's ancestor will receive his respects very well. Yuan walks forward while the two watch him, thinking he is an idiot unable to realize his execution is imminent, until the protagonist stops before the sanctuary lit by candles, and they both announce they have brought the offering to pay respect to the ancient ancestor, receiving a satisfied praise in return. The third miss asks if he sees the depth of the sanctuary, but notices he did not kowtow, and Jia asks whether she really wants him to kneel before that being and be called an official immortal of Yuanwu, and asks whether such an entity is even worthy. Sheng becomes irritated and asks how he dares disrespect the old ancestor, and the young master tries to force him to kneel by grabbing his shoulder, while Sheng releases power against him, but Yuan remains completely unmoved. Ying coils her whip around his leg, trying to drag him toward the altar, and the young master attacks from the other side, but the protagonist does not move at all, and the third miss, shocked, says he was poisoned yet is still resisting, while Sheng states that even without the poison, he is still going against all of them. Yuan releases flames and asks who said he was only 4th rank, blasting the two of them away with an impact that slams them into the wall, leaving the young master groaning as he realizes Yuan is not level 4. Ying, stunned, asks if he is level 5, and the flames around the protagonist intensify as Sheng tries to understand, saying that reaching level 4 already requires absurd resources, and ascending to level 5 is like climbing the heavens, something even the entire Yuan family combined could never cultivate, demanding to know who he is. Xia answers that he's not worthy of knowing, and the young master introduces himself as an assistant heir of the Yuan family, wielder of water power and impurity marks, while Ying claims that from the strength of his strike, he intended to destroy the family's great fortune. The third miss then summons a magic circle, saying his plasma will be the sacrifice, and Sheng comments that the stronger the user, the more satisfied the ancestors will be, while Ying asks the ancestor to accept the offering. The ancestor manifests, saying it is excellent and that such a fine sacrifice pleases him, introducing himself as the Lord of the 7-star, leading waters of the Upper Purity Grotto, claiming that his descent is a great blessing and asking why Yuan is not bowing yet. The young master rejoices, saying the true ancestral form is descending and asking if Yuan is so terrified he can barely breathe, while Ying finds it strange how calm he looks. The protagonist asks if they have even heard that title before, and the bird explains that the 7 stellar waters of Upper Purity govern all water paths of the world, while the bear says it would be stranger if he had not tasted that power already. Su appears, saying there are signs everywhere, countless fragments of time flowing through the environment, and the bear calls the ancestor a mere minor water lackey and asks how he dares claim authority in the name of the Upper Purity Grotto, declaring that such blasphemy should be erased. The ancestor looks at the group and asks what kind of human with a bird's body commands wind and thunder, and whether he is the Thunder Marshal Lei Zhenzi, questioning why he is here if ancient gods should not appear. The bear is surprised at being recognized and introduces himself as the Great Black Wind King, but the ancestor says he has never heard that name, and the bear tries to strike him, calling him ignorant. The ancestor roars, asking what filthy beast dares run wild in this mortal domain, and claims that the Waterlord has already been eliminated, so the seat of merit now belongs to him, saying he ruled the water court with effort and devotion, and how dare they challenge him, stating that a beast spirit is perfect divine food, because that formation does not even allow the soul to escape. Sheng marvels, saying that is exactly what they expect of an ancestor, subjugating the enemy the moment he manifests, congratulating him and saying such nourishment will help him advance even further, while Ying remarks that many wild gods and beast spirits dared invade the Yuan family, but the bear smashes the ancestor violently, throwing him to the ground, and when the being tries to rise, asking why he was not suppressed by the formation, the bear strikes him again, saying he only reached the Shuri level by stealing someone else's merit jade, and asking how someone so insignificant dares think he should follow such a laughable creature. The bird releases its own power, and the young master notices the shift as spiritual chains close in on Ying, and the protagonist comments that it is as fragile as paper and crumbles with a touch, asking who is really being presumptuous there. The ancestor panics and calls for the 3 generals, saying he was careless and meant no harm, but the bear jumps, saying it is too late, lands on him and releases a disgusting stench. leaving both members of the UN family horrified. Shia and his beasts gag and start vomiting, and the ancestor begs them to spare him and show mercy. He tries to flee, but the bird blocks the path, asking whether he really thinks he can escape. A colossal burst of energy explodes in the air and strikes the ancestor, making the two UN youths lose their breath and ask who that man is. While Ying thinks she must warn the patriarch because someone with that level of power is a threat to the UN family itself. The ancestor is hurled far away and looking down sees the two UN youths, opening his enormous mouth as they fall into terror, asking whether he really intends to devour them. The ancestor swallows both of them and orders silence, saying he tended their bloodline, and now it is time to collect payment, for they were two fourth-rank offerings. The spiritual pressure rises and he begins transforming, becoming even stronger. Sue comments that for years they managed to keep the water under control, but now, by absorbing such high-level abilities as offerings, he has truly reached the position of general. And the bear says they should join forces and crush him. Shia tells them to hold on, because he has just crossed the cocooned sand and inherited the ancestral memories of the craftsman, asking them to circle around one side while he goes around the other, wondering if that will give them a chance. The ancestor calls him an ignorant child and says he will devour them first, because once he breaks through again, no one there will stand a chance. Shia smiles and releases overwhelming flames. In India, zombies attack while people inside a church scream on their knees for help until the door collapses and the monsters rush in, biting everyone. A bald ability user fights among the flames as other users try to protect the rest, telling them to run. A group of kneeling young men raise their hands, crying out for glory, and a female warrior watches, saying they have gone mad until a massive zombie appears. The users fight the giant while the kneeling ones keep insisting the gods will save them. Outside, three lights descend from the sky, Shiva, Indra, and Kali, and people scream in joy, saying the gods have arrived. Shiva drags the giant zombies in and crushes them with a single blow, and everyone thanks him, believing they are saved. Two crystals appear and Shiva hands them to the other two gods. Kali eats one with a smile, saying the taste of thousands of souls is rich, and Indra says it is acceptable, but he prefers another flavor, leaving people confused. Shiva says they are merely taking what is theirs, and suddenly the human warriors begin being pulled toward them in terror. Shiva drags them in and crushes them just as easily. Crystals emerge from their bodies and the three gods feed on them, saying the taste is far better than that of the dead. Shiva says the number of Gauls and humans who fought together with the memories etched within them were all extracted from their spiritual essence, and Indra says it is foolish to call that duty, a war fueled by greed under the disguise of humanity. While Kali says that not only in Vania but across all realms, the peak gods only sought to fight each other to the end, even after 1,000 years of prayers. Shiva says that even now, when people try to resist, the divine power remains strong and that the place is unworthy of such a struggle. Kali laughs, saying that in the 3,000-year war, she followed Aegon into the lands of Vanshia, and Indra says he understands and that they must wait for good news. Shiva calls the two to leave and they vanish, leaving everyone horrified until they notice another group of zombies approaching in the distance. Deep in the UN fortress mines, soldiers order everyone to dig faster, and workers complain that they have already gone too far and ask about the promised fair treatment, mentioning monsters deeper below. Then Yuan Rui, a fourth-rank ability user, appears saying someone entered the UN Mansion, drank their water, ate their food, and even stole ore, and now they have two options: dig or cut open their bellies to return everything. He says everyone must take the superior purity pills to cleanse the poison contaminating their bodies. People ask about poison, and Rui answers they are already contaminated, and that both digging and refusing will lead to death, and taking the pill or not is their choice. They call him heartless, and Rui says to relax, because once they take the pill, the contamination will vanish, and their cultivation will even rise, so they have nothing to lose. A soldier comments that a few words are enough for him to control them, and adds that the ancestral golden coffin must be close. A tremor shakes the mine and an explosion echoes. Elsewhere, the ancestor is hurled away with heavy wounds, and the protagonist approaches, telling him to keep going. Xia rushes again, surrounded by flames, while the ancestor tries to flee, calling him a maniac, and Yuan releases another blast of fire, making the ancestor run in panic, begging them to stop, while the protagonist orders them not to let him escape. Guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss new content. Thank you.